The monkey paw closes, reality bends, and standing before Prismo, the Wishmaster, the cosmic bartender of dreams, is a skeleton wrapped in rotting flesh, green fire burning in empty sockets, speaking words that make existence itself recoil. I wish for the extinction of all life. 5 words, simple, clean, the kind of wish that doesn't ask for power or revenge or love or riches, just ending, pure, absolute, total ending. The Lich doesn't want to rule the world. He wants there to be no world left to rule, no subjects, no kingdoms, no stories, no songs, just the beautiful, perfect silence of nothing. Finn screams, Jake lunges, but they're too slow, because how do you stop a wish that's already been spoken? How do you fight entropy when it's standing in a cosmic time room, wearing the corpse of your greatest hero like a Halloween costume? This is the Lich. And he's not a villain in the way you're used to. He's not misunderstood. He's not tragic. He's not doing this for his family or his planet or some twisted version of justice. He's doing this because before there was time, before there was anything, there was nothing. And he wants to return the favour. In this video, we're diving into the complete, terrifying and surprisingly hopeful lore of Adventure Time's ultimate evil. From prehistoric catalyst comets to nuclear apocalypse, from possessed heroes to cosmic wishmasters, from the end of everything to the beginning of something impossible. We're talking about how death itself became a character, how extinction wore skin and walked through, and how maybe, just maybe, even the darkest force in the multiverse could be transformed into something beautiful. We're going to talk about the entire lore of the Lich, so get cozy, like, subscribe, and let's start. The thing about the Lich is that he's been here before. Long before Finn was born. Long before Princess Bubblegum built her candy kingdom. Long before Jake stretched his first pancake. The Lich has been ending things since ending was invented, and to understand him, to really get what makes him tick, or rather, what makes him not tick, since he's literally death, and death doesn't really have a heartbeat, we need to go back, way back. But first, let's talk about what makes the Lich so fundamentally terrifying. It's not his appearance, though that certainly helps. That exposed skull. Those empty eyes that somehow still convey infinite malice. The way his voice sounds like gravel sliding down a throat made of tombstones. The green flame that clings to him like radioactive perfume. No, what makes the Lich truly horrifying is his absolute clarity of purpose. Think about most villains. Ice King wants to not be lonely. Lemon Grab wants order. The Vampire King wanted power. Magic Man wanted to escape his pain. Even Golb, Chaos Incarnate, just wants things to be chaotic. But the Lich? The Lich wants nothing. Literally nothing. He wants to take the grand tapestry of existence and burn it until there aren't even ashes left. Until there's no one to remember there were ever ashes at all. He's not angry about this. He doesn't rage. He doesn't monologue about how the world hurt him. When he talks, it's with the calm certainty of someone describing a mathematical proof. Of course, all life must end. Of course, everything must return to nothing. This isn't opinion. This is just how things are supposed to be. He's not destroying the world. He's correcting an error. The Lich believes he's right. Not right in a twisted villain logic way. Right in a cosmic, fundamental, written into the laws of reality way. He looked at existence and saw a mistake. Life is the aberration. Death is the natural state. And he's just here to fix the glitch. Remember that moment in the Citadel when he stands before Prismo? Jake's already been turned into the Lich briefly. Finn's dad is about to make the most selfish wish in history. And there's the Lich, patient as entropy, waiting his turn. Because he has all the time in the world. He has more than all the time in the world. He has the time before time, the space before space. He's been waiting longer than waiting existed, and when he makes his wish, there's no hesitation. No dramatic pause, no villain speech about how everyone will finally understand him. Just 5 words that would unmake reality if Prismo wasn't the cosmic equivalent of a lawyer with really good fine print. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because to understand that moment, we need to understand how the Lich got there. How something that's essentially a concept, the idea of ending, became a walking, talking, billy-wearing nightmare that could stand in a cosmic time room and wish for extinction. The story starts with a comet. Because in Adventure Time, everything important starts with a comet. Every 1,000 years one falls from the sky, bringing catalyst energy that reshapes the world. Sometimes it brings creation, sometimes it brings change, and sometimes, every once in a very long while, it brings destruction. Not the fun kind of destruction where things explode and reform, the permanent kind, the kind that makes you forget things were ever there to begin with. The Lich is that comet's gift to Earth, or curse, depending on how you feel about existence. But here's where it gets interesting. The Lich isn't just some monster that spawned from a space rock. He's part of a cycle, a pattern that's been repeating since before dinosaurs, before single-celled organisms, before anything crawled out of any ocean. The catalyst comets come bearing different energies, different purposes, and the Lich is one face of that cosmic cycle. The face that says everything that begins must end. And he was patient. Oh, was he patient? For millions of years, the essence of the Lich, the seed of extinction, waited. Dormant, dreaming maybe if death can dream, waiting for the right moment, the right catastrophe. The right amount of death energy to catalyze his full awakening. Then humanity decided to help him out, with nuclear bombs, because of course we did. The Mushroom War, the event that ended civilization and created ooh from its radioactive ashes, the moment when humanity looked at itself and decided to press the big red button. Multiple big red buttons, enough buttons to glass the planet and make it glow in colours that nature never intended. And in that moment, in that perfect storm of extinction-level death energy, the Lich woke up. Not born, not created. Woke up. Like he'd been sleeping in the basement of reality and someone finally rang the doorbell loud enough to get his attention. Picture it. The bombs are falling. People are screaming. Civilization is ending in real time. Simon Petrikov is putting on a crown that will save his life and destroy his mind. Marceline's mom is making the last choice she'll ever make. And somewhere in the chaos, in the green glow of the mushroom bomb, something ancient recognizes its moment. The Lich rises, and his first act isn't to monologue, isn't to declare himself ruler of the ashes. It's simpler than that. He laughs, not a villain laugh. Not a maniacal cackle, just a laugh. The kind of laugh you make when a joke you've been waiting 1,000,000 years to tell finally lands. Then he gets to work, ending things, which is what he does best. What he was literally born, woken, to do. There's a mural, underground, in what used to be a subway before the world ended. It shows the Lich at the height of his power during the Mushroom War. People running, fire everywhere, and the Lich in the centre, bringing extinction with every step. It's not a battle scene. Battles imply two sides fighting. This is a harvest. He's not fighting humanity, he's erasing it. And then, after the war ends, after the bombs stop falling and the world settles into its new radioactive normal, the Lich does something unexpected. He waits, again. For 1,000 years, he waits while ooh grows from the corpse of Earth, while candy people emerge from the fallout, while kingdoms rise, while Finn grows up thinking he's the last human, while Jake becomes best friends with his brother from another mother. The Lich waits because that's what extinction does. It doesn't rush. Mountains erode, stars die, entropy always wins. Why hurry? But he's not idle. Oh no. See, the Lich understands something fundamental about evil, something that makes him more dangerous than any demon or monster or dark wizard. He understands that the best plans are patient, that corruption is most effective when it's subtle, that sometimes the best way to end the world is to let everyone think the world is safe. So he possesses a snail, a tiny, innocent, background character snail that appears in almost every episode if you're paying attention, and he watches, he learns, he plans, he waits for the perfect moment to strike, and that moment comes when he needs a disguise, when he needs someone everyone trusts. Someone strong enough to hold the Enchiridion, someone close enough to Finn to get him exactly where the Lich needs him. Billy, the greatest hero ooh ever produced. The man who taught Finn what it meant to be a hero, who fought the Lich before and won, or so everyone thought. Billy, with his legendary gauntlet and his legendary deeds and his legendary status as proof that good can triumph. The Lich kills him, takes his body, wears him like a meat suit, and then plays father figure to Finn while planning the extinction of all life, because that's the kind of evil we're dealing with. The kind that will puppet your hero's corpse and use it to give you life advice while planning your death. Imagine being Finn in that moment of discovery. Your idol, your mentor, the person who represented everything you wanted to be, dead, has been dead, and the thing that killed him has been pretending to be him, teaching you, guiding you, all while working toward making sure you and everyone you love stops existing. That's not just evil, that's existentially horrifying. That's the kind of trauma that requires therapy that probably doesn't exist in OO. But here's the thing, even in that moment, even wearing Billy's corpse like a costume, even using his voice to deceive Finn, the Lich isn't enjoying it in a sadistic way. He's not cackling about his clever plan. He's just doing what needs to be done to achieve his goal. Billy was a tool, Finn is an obstacle, existence is an error to be corrected. It's all very simple when you're death incarnate, and it almost works. The Lich gets what he needs, opens a portal to the multiverse, stands before Prismo, reality's monkey paw made flesh, and makes his wish. 5 words that would end everything if the cosmic bureaucracy didn't have safeguards. But even when Finn interrupts, even when the wish gets twisted into creating an alternate timeline instead, even when the Lich's plan fails, he doesn't rage. He doesn't swear revenge. He just adapts. Because extinction is patient. Because death always wins eventually. Because he has time. All the time. More time than time itself. So what is the Lich, really? A villain? That's too simple. He's not doing this for personal gain. A force of nature. Closer. He's certainly as implacable as gravity and as inevitable as entropy. A cosmic concept given form? Maybe. He's the idea that everything ends, walking around in a body made of decay and death energy. Or maybe he's something more terrifying. Maybe he's proof that the universe has opinions. That reality itself sometimes looks at what it's created and decides it's time for a reset. That existence is an argument between creation and destruction, and the Lich is destruction's most articulate representative. Because that's what makes him different from every other threat in Adventure Time. The Ice King can be saved. The Vampire King can be defeated. Golb can be bargained with or transformed. But the Lich represents something fundamental. Something you can't defeat because it's part of the cosmic order. You can't argue with the heat death of the universe. You can't negotiate with entropy. You can't make friends with the end of all things. Or can you? That's the question that will haunt the rest of this story. That's the seed planted in this moment of horror, because Adventure Time is sneaky like that. It shows you the most terrifying villain in children's television history. It makes him unstoppable, inevitable, the walking embodiment of extinction itself. And then it asks, what if even death could change? What if even extinction could be transformed? What if the most fundamental force of ending could become a beginning? But we're not there yet. Right now, we're standing in Prismo's time room watching the Lich make his wish. Watching Finn desperately try to stop it. Watching reality itself bend under the weight of 5 words that want to unmake everything. Right now, we're at the moment where Adventure Time stops being just a fun cartoon about a boy and his dog having adventures. This is where it becomes something else, something deeper, something that asks questions about death and meaning and whether anything we do matters when entropy is the final word. The Lich doesn't care if you're scared. He doesn't care if you're brave. He doesn't care if you're good or evil or neutral or chaotic or lawful. He cares that you exist, and he wants to fix that problem. Isn't that the purest form of evil? Not hatred, because hatred requires caring. Not revenge, because revenge requires personal investment. Just the simple, patient, inevitable desire to return everything to nothing. To undo the cosmic accident of existence. To correct the error of life itself. So before we dive deeper into his origins, his plans, his defeats and his transformations, sit with that for a moment. Feel the weight of it. The Lich isn't trying to destroy the world because someone hurt him. He's trying to destroy the world because worlds existing at all offends him on a fundamental level. And yet somehow, impossibly, this story has hope in it. Because Adventure Time is wild like that. It'll show you extinction incarnate, death-wearing skin, the end of everything made manifest, and then it'll ask if even that can be redeemed, if even that can grow, if even that can become something beautiful. But that comes later. First, we need to understand where he came from. We need to go back before the Mushroom War, before humanity, before Earth had anything on it more complex than rocks and water and time. We need to talk about a comet, a green comet, a catalyst comet that carried the seed of destruction across the cosmos, waiting for the perfect planet, the perfect moment, the perfect amount of death energy to bloom into something terrible. We need to talk about how the universe decides it's time for things to end, and how sometimes the universe sends a messenger to deliver that news. Welcome to the complete lore of the Lich. It's going to be a long journey, but then again, extinction is patient, and so are we. Every 1,000 years, something falls from the sky. Not a meteor, not space debris, not some alien invasion craft, a catalyst comet, and when it hits Earth, reality gets an update it didn't ask for and probably doesn't want. This is pattern. This is cycle. This is the universe's way of making sure things don't get too comfortable. Every millennium, cosmic energy crashes into the planet and says, time for change whether you like it or not. And the thing about these comets is that they each carry a different flavour of cosmic inevitability. Different energies, different purposes, different ways of reshaping what existence means on this particular rock orbiting this particular star. The first incarnation is creation, building, making, taking nothing and turning it into something. Evergreen, the dinosaur wizard who lived during the time of magic users and ice elementals, encountered this energy, tried to harness it, created a crown that would eventually drive Simon Petrikov mad millions of years later. Because in Adventure Time, everything connects and nothing is wasted. That comet brought the energy of making things, of imposing will onto chaos, of saying, I will create, and creation will obey me. The second incarnation is change, transformation, the idea that nothing stays static, that everything flows, that the river you step in isn't the same river twice. We don't know much about this one. It came, it did its thing, it left Earth different than it found it. Change doesn't announce itself with fanfare, it just happens, and you look around one day and realise nothing is where you left it. The third incarnation is destruction, ending, the green catalyst comet, and this is where our story really begins. Because this isn't the fun kind of destruction where things blow up and reform into new configurations. This is the permanent kind, the kind that looks at existence and says, actually no, let's not. This comet carries the essence of extinction, the seed of the Lich, the promise that everything that begins will end, and maybe it's better if we skip straight to the ending. And the fourth incarnation, the one that comes last in the cycle, is rebirth. New beginnings from old endings, hope from ashes. Finn Mertens, the last human, the boy who fights because fighting means caring, is this comet's champion. But we'll get to him. Right now, we need to talk about the green one, the one that doesn't want things to be reborn, the one that thinks existence is overrated. Picture Earth before the comet, millions of years ago. Dinosaurs haven't happened yet. Complex life is still a sketch on evolution's drawing board. The planet is mostly rock and water and single-celled organisms doing their best. No kingdoms, no candy people, no ice kings singing off-key songs about princesses. Just Earth, young and wild and full of potential that hasn't quite figured out what it wants to be yet. The sky is different. The atmosphere is alien. This isn't the world you'd recognise. This isn't even the world that dinosaurs would later recognise. This is Earth in its awkward teenage phase, still figuring out its identity, still deciding what kind of planet it wants to grow up to be. And then, one day, something appears in that alien sky. A green light, growing, coming closer, moving with the kind of inevitability that makes you realise running is pointless, because where would you even run to? It's not moving fast, relatively speaking. Comets never are when you measure them against cosmic distances, but it's coming, patient, certain, like death itself. Because it kind of is. The green catalyst comet enters the atmosphere. Does it burn? Does it glow? Does it scream across the sky like every other space rock that's ever hit Earth? Maybe. Probably. But there's something different about this one. Something in the colour of its fire. Something in the way reality seems to bend around it. Like existence itself is trying to get out of the way. It hits. And the impact isn't just physical. It's conceptual. It's not just force and energy and crater making. It's the introduction of an idea into the world's bloodstream. The idea that things end, that extinction is possible, that death isn't just the absence of life but an active force, a presence, a thing with agency and purpose. The crater smokes, not with normal smoke, with green, with that particular shade of a radioactive promise that says nothing good grows here anymore. And in that crater, in that wound in the planet's surface, something waits. Not alive, not dead, just there, dormant. The essence of extinction, planted like a seed in the garden of existence. And here's where it gets philosophically heavy. The Lich isn't a person who became evil. He's not someone who was hurt and decided to hurt back. He's not even really a he. Though we use that pronoun because it's easier than saying it or the concept of ending given semi-corporeal form. The Lich is the manifestation of a cosmic principle. He's what happens when the universe decides that entropy needs a spokesperson. Think about it. Before this comet fell, Earth had life and death in the normal sense. Things were born, things died, the circle of life, Simba, all that jazz. But this wasn't capital D death. This wasn't extinction with intent. This was just the natural process of things beginning and ending. No malice, no purpose, just nature being nature. The Green Catalyst comet changed that. It introduced the idea that death could have agency, that extinction could be a goal, that ending could be an active choice rather than a passive consequence. It took the natural process of things dying and turned it into a force with direction, with purpose, with the cosmic equivalent of a to-do list that says, end everything, check when complete. And this essence, this seed of purposeful extinction, does what seeds do. It waits for the right conditions to grow. It needs death energy, lots of it, the right kind, the concentrated kind. The kind that comes from massive, catastrophic, civilization-ending amounts of death all happening at once. So it sleeps. For millions of years it sleeps. Dinosaurs rise, dinosaurs fall. Mammals show up, ice ages come and go. Humans eventually crawl out of caves and start building civilizations, and through all of it, buried in the primordial layers of Earth's history, the essence of the Lich waits, patient. Because when you're the concept of inevitable ending, you have all the time in the world, literally. You have more time than the world does. This is bigger than ooh. Bigger than Earth even. Adventure Time's cosmology is wild when you really dive into it. You've got the Nightosphere, which is basically hell but with more bureaucracy and better music. You've got the crystal dimension, the lumpy space, the dead worlds, multiple timelines, the time room where Prismo makes wishes, Golb, the embodiment of chaos, the cosmic owl who appears in prophetic dreams, Death himself wearing a three-piece suit and speaking with perfect diction. And woven through all of this, connecting it all, is the pattern of the Catalyst comets. They're not just random space rocks, they're the universe's way of maintaining balance. Creation needs destruction, change needs stability, death needs life. They're opposites, sure, but they're also partners in the cosmic dance. You can't have one without the other. The Lich is one step in this dance, the step where everything falls down, where the music stops, where the lights go out and everyone goes home. He's necessary, in a cosmic sense. Because if nothing ever ended, if everything just kept accumulating and growing and existing forever, reality would get cluttered, stagnant, like a room that's never cleaned, where old stuff just piles up until you can't move. But here's the kicker. Here's what makes the Lich's existence genuinely tragic, in a way that has nothing to do with his personal feelings, because he doesn't really have those. The tragedy is that he's right. Not morally right, not ethically right, but cosmically, fundamentally right. Everything does end. Heat death of the universe, entropy, the eventual decay of all matter. The Lich isn't lying about how things work. He's just really impatient about getting there. He looks at life and sees inefficiency. Why take billions of years for everything to naturally decay when you could just end it all now? Why wait for the heat death of the universe when you could bring it forward? Why let things exist and suffer and struggle when you could give them all the peace of absolute non-existence? In his worldview, he's not the villain. He's the mercy killer. He's not destroying anything. He's liberating it from the burden of having to exist. And that's somehow more terrifying than if he was just evil for evil's sake. Imagine being so committed to your purpose that you arrive from space as a radioactive nightmare ball, and then wait millions of years for the perfect moment to fully manifest. That's dedication. That's patience. That's the kind of long-term planning that makes Amazon's business model look short-sighted. The green comet falls, the essence waits, and Earth goes about its business, completely unaware that extinction incarnate is sleeping in its basement, waiting for someone to set the perfect alarm clock. An alarm clock that sounds like nuclear bombs and smells like the end of civilization. But we're still millions of years away from that. Right now, in this primordial moment, the seed is just planted. The essence is just dormant. The Lich, as an active entity, doesn't exist yet. He's potential. He's possibility. He's the promise of ending, written in green fire and buried in ancient rock. And maybe other things happen during this time. Maybe the essence dreams. If cosmic principles can dream, maybe it watches somehow as life develops, as complexity increases, as consciousness emerges. Does it feel anything watching life spread across the planet it came to end? Does it feel impatience, disgust, or just the patient satisfaction of a farmer watching crops grow, knowing that harvest time will eventually come? We don't know. The show doesn't tell us. But it's fun to think about. The idea that the Lich has been watching humanity's entire history, watching us build and love and create and fight and make art and tell stories, all while thinking, yes, yes, very nice. Now let me end all of it. The thing about cosmic forces is that they don't operate on human timescales. 1,000,000 years to us is incomprehensible. To the Lich essence, it's a nap, a brief rest before the real work begins. Time doesn't mean the same thing when you're part of the fundamental structure of how reality operates. And the beauty of Adventure Time storytelling is that it takes these massive, cosmic, incomprehensible concepts and makes them personal. Makes them matter. The Lich isn't just a metaphor for entropy. He's a character. He walks. He talks. He makes wishes. He has goals. He interacts with the world in ways that matter to the people in it. He's both the abstract concept of extinction and a specific dude who really wants everyone to stop existing. That's the magic trick. That's what makes him work as a villain in a kid's show while also being genuinely philosophically interesting. He's simple enough for a child to understand. He's the bad guy who wants to destroy everything, but complex enough for adults to chew on. He represents something real, something true about how the universe works, and he does it while wearing a skeleton suit and speaking in a voice that sounds like gravel getting a divorce. So the green catalyst comet falls. The essence of extinction plants itself in Earth's primordial soil, and the universe adds another piece to its cosmic puzzle. Creation, change, destruction, rebirth. The cycle continues, the pattern holds, and somewhere, buried and waiting, the Lich sleeps between catastrophes, patient as the grave, certain as entropy, inevitable as the end of all things. Some forces aren't defeated, they're just sleeping, waiting for their moment. Waiting for the right conditions, waiting for humanity to invent nuclear weapons and prove that sometimes the universe doesn't need to do the destroying. Sometimes we do it ourselves, and when we do, the Lich will be waiting, because he's always been waiting, since before time, since before anything, just waiting for the universe to finally admit that maybe existence was a mistake and it's time to hit the reset button that doesn't lead to rebirth. Just time to end. Earth, not ooh yet, just Earth. Recognizable. Modern. The kind of world where people drive cars and check their phones and complain about traffic and worry about normal things like bills and relationships and whether they remembered to lock the front door. Cities with skyscrapers that touch clouds. Highways connecting everything to everything else. Planes crossing oceans. The internet humming with 1 billion conversations happening simultaneously. Civilization at its peak. Humanity thinking it had finally figured things out. But there's tension in the air. Political. Ideological. The kind that builds like pressure in a shaken soda bottle. Nations glaring at each other across borders. Fingers hovering near buttons that should never be pressed. The Cold War energy, but hotter, more desperate, more convinced that the other side will strike first. So maybe we should strike first. So maybe everyone should strike at once and let the chips fall where they may. People go about their lives. They have to. What else can you do when the apocalypse is a maybe? You still go to work. still kiss your kids goodnight, still make plans for next weekend, still argue about what to have for dinner, because the alternative is paralysis. The alternative is admitting that everything you've built and loved and created might end because some politician somewhere decided that being right was more important than being alive, and then one day the buttons get pressed. Not one button, many buttons. Because if you're going to end the world, you might as well be thorough about it. The Mushroom War begins, not with a declaration, not with a dramatic speech, just with launches, missiles rising from silos, submarines releasing their payloads, strategic positions lighting up on screens in bunkers deep underground. And in the moments between launch and impact, there's this brief window where you could theoretically still stop it. Call it back. Say, never mind. But that window closes faster than human decision-making can move. Because we built these systems to be fast, to be certain, to not hesitate. The bombs fall, and when they hit, reality rewrites itself in fire. Cities evaporate, not burn, not collapse, evaporate, turn to shadows and ash and memories. The flash is so bright it burns after-images into the world itself. People frozen mid-run. Buildings reduced to impressionistic suggestions of what they used to be. The sound comes after. The world-ending roar of civilization deleting itself. And it's not just one bomb, it's hundreds, thousands, enough to crack the world like an egg and scramble what's inside. The atmosphere lights up. The sky turns colours that don't have names. Radiation spreads like watercolour bleeding across wet paper. This isn't war anymore. This is extinction wearing a military uniform. Somewhere in this chaos, Simon Petrikov puts on a crown he found in Scandinavia. An ancient artifact from the time of Evergreen. The crown that survived the first catalyst comet, and it protects him. Drives him slowly mad over centuries, yes, but protects him. Turns him into the Ice King, but keeps him alive. Because even in the apocalypse, some things survive, usually the things that probably shouldn't. Somewhere else. Marceline watches her mother make an impossible choice, watches the woman who gave her life prepare to lose it. The Vampire King is there. Hunson Abadir, Lord of the Nightosphere, marks his daughter with protection she didn't ask for but desperately needs. The war touches everyone, changes everyone, kills almost everyone. But there's one bomb in particular, one specific payload that matters more than all the others combined. The mushroom bomb. And when it detonates, it doesn't just release nuclear fire, it releases something older. Something that's been waiting for exactly this much death energy, in exactly the right configuration. The green catalyst comet essence feels it. After millions of years of dormancy, after waiting through the rise and fall of countless species, through ice ages and evolutionary leaps and the slow march of time, it finally feels the alarm clock it's been waiting for. The amount of death happening in this single moment is unprecedented, concentrated, perfect. The Lich wakes up, not born, not created, wakes up, and the first thing he does is laugh. Not a villain laugh, not mwahahaha, or at last my plan comes to fruition, just a laugh. The kind you make when you've been waiting for something so long that when it finally happens the relief is almost funny. Like when you finally sneeze after feeling it build up for a while. Except instead of a sneeze, it's the apocalypse, and instead of relief, it's the manifestation of extinction itself. The mushroom bomb crater glows green. That particular shade that says nothing good ever comes from this colour in this context. And from that glow, from that concentrated death energy, the Lich forms, takes shape, stops being just essence and becomes entity. Skeleton wrapped in rotting flesh, green fire burning in empty eye sockets, the smell of endings, the promise of nothing. He rises from the crater like a nightmare getting out of bed, stretches, tests this new body, this physical form constructed from death and radiation and the concentrated despair of a civilization ending, and it fits. It fits perfectly. Because he's not possessing a body, he's not puppeting a corpse. This is his body, built from the materials of extinction itself. His first steps don't break the ground beneath him. They corrupt it. Where he walks, things don't just die. They stop having ever been alive. The distinction matters. Death is natural. Death is part of the cycle. What the Lich brings is erasure, unbeing. the opposite of existence itself. And then he gets to work. Because the bombs have done a good job, sure, but they're not thorough enough. There are survivors, people huddling in basements, hiding in bunkers, running toward anywhere that isn't here. The bombs are indiscriminate. They kill whoever happens to be in the blast radius. But the Lich is methodical. He doesn't just want people dead, he wants them ended. He wants to make sure that the last thing they feel is the absolute certainty that everything they loved, everything they built, everything they hoped for, is gone. Forever. He walks through the ruins, past burning buildings, past bodies, past the scattered debris of human civilization. And wherever he goes, things get worse. Not just destroyed, worse than destroyed, corrupted, twisted, turned into monuments to ending. He's not just a weapon, he's a statement. He's the universe's way of saying, you thought nuclear war was bad, let me show you what real extinction looks like. There's a moment that gets captured, not photographed, not filmed, but captured in a way that matters more, underground in what used to be a subway. People ran there, thought maybe they'd be safe, maybe the underground would protect them, maybe the trains would still run, and they could escape to somewhere, anywhere else. They were wrong. The Lich found them, and what happened next gets preserved. Not in words, not in history books, because who's going to write history books when history's ending, but in the walls themselves. In the frozen expressions of shadows, in the mural that forms from the sheer concentrated terror of that moment. You can see it in the show, the subway scene, the Lich in the centre, people running, trying to escape, knowing they can't, his shadow falling over everything, his presence turning the last moments of these people's lives into a testament to hopelessness. And somewhere in that frozen moment, you can almost hear his laugh echoing through time. This is what makes the Lich different from the bombs. The bombs were human fear, human anger, human stupidity. They were us at our worst. But the Lich is something else. He's what comes after we destroy ourselves. He's the universe's cleanup crew, except instead of cleaning, he's making sure nothing grows here again. And here's the philosophical gut punch. Was the Lich created by the mushroom bomb? Did all that death energy somehow spawn him from nothing? Or did the bomb just wake him up? Just provide the catalyst for something that was always going to happen eventually? The answer is both. And neither. The essence was already there. The green catalyst comet planted it millions of years ago. But it needed the right conditions to manifest. To become active. To take form and purpose and agency. The bomb didn't create the Lich. It gave him permission. It proved his point. It showed that yes, existence is a mistake, because look what existence does to itself when given enough time and fear. Humanity ended humanity. We pulled our own plug. The Lich just made sure we didn't leave anything behind. No survivors to rebuild, no hope for recovery, no phoenix rising from ashes, just ashes, and then not even ashes, just nothing. But even the Lich can't be everywhere at once. The world is big. The destruction is widespread. There are pockets. Survivors, Simon, protected by magic, Marceline, marked by her demon father, others scattered across the globe, hiding, adapting, beginning the long process of surviving in a world that's actively trying to kill them. And the Lich realizes something. He's powerful, he's determined, he's literally the manifestation of extinction. But he's also limited by physical form. He can only be in one place at a time. He can only end things as fast as he can walk to them, and the world, even dying, even poisoned by radiation and ash, is still big. So he does something unexpected. He stops, not gives up. The Lich doesn't give up. That would imply he could fail, and extinction doesn't fail. It's just delayed. He stops because he recognizes that finishing the job right now, with his current capabilities, would take too long. And there's a better way. He can wait. He's good at waiting. He's been doing it for millions of years. A few thousand more won't matter. Let the survivors think they've won. Let them build their little kingdoms from the rubble. Let them create from the corpse of Earth. Let them grow and love and hope and think maybe things will be okay. Because that makes the ending so much better. That makes extinction mean something. You can't truly end something that was never given the chance to grow. But if you let it flourish, let it think it's safe, Let it build civilizations and tell stories and create art, and then you end it. That's poetry. That's the Lich's version of mercy, letting them have hope before crushing it completely, so he finds a place to rest, to wait, to plan. The essence recedes but doesn't disappear. He's still there, still active, just patient. Watching as the Mushroom War's survivors slowly crawl out of hiding. Watching as magic returns to the world, or maybe was always there but humans were too loud to notice. Watching as candy people emerge from the radiation, as kingdoms form, as new species adapt to the toxic paradise that Earth has become. And through all of it, the Lich waits, because he has time. All the time. More time than these new kingdoms will ever have, because their clocks are ticking down. Everyone's is. Everything that begins must end. And he's patient enough to let them forget that fact before reminding them. The Mushroom War ends, civilization is gone, Earth is broken, but life, stubborn and desperate and beautiful and foolish, continues. And in the ruins of what was, something new begins to grow, something colourful, something magical, something that will eventually be called Ooh. But underneath it all, in the deep places where the radiation glows green, the Lich waits. Not sleeping this time, just waiting, planning, preparing. Because round one went to extinction. Humanity ended itself. Now he just needs to finish what the bomb started. He needs to end everything else. The candy people, the magic users, the elementals, the cosmic beings, everything. Turns out the apocalypse has a spokesperson, and he's really committed to his brand. Like wait 1,000 years for the perfect moment committed. Like let civilizations rise just so ending them means more committed. The kind of dedication to your job that HR would probably flag as unhealthy if HR still existed and wasn't currently a pile of radioactive ash. So was the Lich created by the mushroom bomb, or did the bomb simply wake what was always waiting? The answer is yes. He was waiting. The bomb woke him, and now he's awake, and now everything that survived the war, everything that crawled from the rubble, everything that dared to hope, everything that built kingdoms from candy and ice and fire, all of it is on borrowed time, because the Lich isn't done. He's just taking a break, recharging, planning, waiting for the perfect moment to finish what extinction started millions of years ago when a green comet fell from the sky and planted a promise in Earth's soil. The promise that everything ends. And for 1,000 years after the Mushroom War, that promise waits. Patient, certain, inevitable, just like death itself. 1,000 years pass. Which sounds like a long time until you remember that the Lich has been waiting for millions. 1,000 years is a coffee break when you're extinction incarnate. A brief intermission between acts. Time to let the world forget what real horror looks like so that when you return the contrast hits harder, and Ooh has forgotten. How could it not? The Mushroom War is ancient history. Literally ancient. It's the before times. The era of mystery and relics and ruins that people explore but don't really understand. Finn finds pre-war technology sometimes and thinks it's treasure. Princess Bubblegum studies the old world but treats it like archaeology, not recent history. Because to them, it isn't recent. It's as distant as Rome is to us. Further even. Ooh has grown from Earth's corpse like flowers from a grave. And it's beautiful in that way that post-apocalyptic fantasy always is when it's had enough time to forget the apocalypse part. The Candy Kingdom with its pink spires and citizens made of literal sweets. The Ice Kingdom where Simon, now fully Ice King, kidnaps princesses and plays his drums badly. The Fire Kingdom burning eternal. Lumpy space floating in its own dimension. The Grasslands where Finn and Jake have their treehouse and their adventures. Life won, or it looks like it won. The world ended, and then life said, "No thanks, I'll just keep going anyway." Adapted, mutated, got weird with it. Because that's what life does. It's stubborn, persistent. Even when you nuke it into oblivion, even when you poison the soil and the air and the water, even when extinction itself walks among the ruins, life finds a way. It always finds a way. And for 1,000 years that's been enough. Ooh has problems, sure. Ice King is annoying. Monsters emerge from the forest. Kingdoms have their disputes, but these are manageable problems. Adventure-sized problems. The kind that a boy and his magic dog can handle with courage and friendship and maybe a sword. until one day a snail gets possessed. And nobody notices because who pays attention to snails? They're background. They're the thing that's always there but never matters. That little green snail that shows up in almost every episode, waving at the camera, existing in the margins of bigger stories, harmless, innocent, just a snail doing snail things. Except now it's doing Lich things. Because the Lich has learned patience. Has learned subtlety. You don't wake up from a 1,000-year wait and immediately announce yourself. You infiltrate. You observe. You learn how this new world works, what its heroes are, what its weaknesses are, how to corrupt it from the inside. The snail possession is genius in its simplicity. Nobody suspects a snail. Nobody watches snails. Nobody thinks that the greatest evil in the multiverse might be hiding in the most innocuous creature in Ooh. It's the perfect cover. And from this tiny mobile perspective, the Lich watches. He sees Finn and Jake having adventures, sees Princess Bubblegum building her kingdom, sees the Ice King's pathetic attempts at connection, sees all the little ways that life has reasserted itself. And he waits, because possession isn't the goal. Observation is. Learning. Planning. Finding the perfect moment and the perfect tool to finish what the Mushroom War started. And that tool, when the Lich finds it, has a name. Billy. The greatest hero Ooh has ever produced. The legend. The inspiration. The proof that good can triumph over evil. The man who fought the Lich before, back when the Lich first rose from the mushroom bomb crater. Billy with his gauntlet. Billy with his courage. Billy who did heroic deeds so impressive they became songs that everyone knows. Billy who represents everything heroic and good and strong about Ooh. Billy who taught Finn what being a hero means. Not just fighting monsters, but doing the right thing. Helping people. Standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves. Billy is Finn's idol, his mentor. The living embodiment of what Finn wants to become. When Finn imagines his future self, he imagines being like Billy. Strong. Brave. Legendary. Billy who the Lich kills and has been dead for a while now, and nobody knows. Because the Lich has been wearing Billy like a meat suit. Puppeting his corpse. Using his voice to speak. Using his face to smile. Using his reputation to get close to the people who trust him. To Finn especially. Because Finn trusts Billy absolutely. Would never question him. Would follow his advice without hesitation. Imagine that for a second. Really sit with it. Your hero, your mentor, the person who represents everything you aspire to be, dead, has been dead, and the thing that killed him has been pretending to be him, has been in your house, has given you life advice, has smiled at you with his face while planning your extinction. That's not just betrayal, that's violation. That's the corruption of something sacred. The Lich doesn't just kill Billy, he desecrates him. Uses him, turns him into a tool. Billy spent his life fighting evil, and in death, he becomes evil's puppet. That's the kind of thorough corruption that shows you what the Lich really is. He doesn't just end things, he ruins them first. Makes sure that even the memory of goodness is tainted, and Finn has no idea. None. Because why would he? When Billy shows up and says he needs help with something, of course Finn helps. That's Billy. That's the hero. When Billy talks about the Enchiridion, the hero's handbook that Finn recovered from Mount Cragdor, of course Finn listens. When Billy explains that the book has power that needs to be unlocked, power that could save Ooh, of course Finn believes him. The Enchiridion, not just a book, a key, a map, a gateway to something bigger than Ooh, the multiverse, infinite realities, infinite worlds, and the Lich wants in. Because why end just one world when you could end all worlds? Why limit extinction to Earth when existence itself spans infinite timelines? The Mushroom War only destroyed one planet. That's thinking small. The Lich thinks big, universal, multiversal. So he uses Billy, uses Finn, guides them through the process of unlocking the Enchiridion's power. And Finn does it because Billy asks, because heroes help heroes, because trust means something, because Finn is good in a way that makes him vulnerable to this exact kind of manipulation. Jake senses something wrong. He can't articulate it, can't point to specific evidence. But Jake's got instincts, and those instincts are screaming that something about Billy is off. Maybe it's the way he talks. Maybe it's the lack of certain warmth. Maybe it's just that Jake has been on enough adventures to know when something smells wrong. But Finn doesn't listen, can't listen, because that would mean doubting Billy, and you don't doubt your heroes. Until the moment when Billy can't maintain the facade anymore, when the Enchiridion is unlocked and the portal is opening and there's no more need for pretense. The flesh tears, the costume comes off, and standing where Billy was, wearing Billy's corpse like a Halloween costume that's fallen apart, is the Lich. Green fire, skeletal grin, that voice like tombstones grinding together. And the words he speaks are worse than any physical attack. Before there was time, before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters. Let that sink in. The Lich's philosophy delivered in one perfect statement. He doesn't just predate civilization, he predates existence. He's not nihilistic, because nihilism requires acknowledging that meaning existed and was lost. The Lich is pre-nihilistic. He comes from before meaning was even a concept, before there was time to measure, before there was anything to give meaning to, before nothing itself, just monsters, just forces, just the raw chaos of unreality. This is what makes him genuinely terrifying on a philosophical level. You can argue with nihilism, you can point to love and art and connection and say, see, this matters. But how do you argue with something that predates the very concept of mattering? The Lich isn't saying life is meaningless. He's saying life is an aberration, a mistake, a glitch in the system that should never have occurred. And he's standing in front of Finn, wearing Finn's dead hero, having just manipulated him into opening a portal to the multiverse. The revelation hits on multiple levels simultaneously. Billy is dead. The Lich is back. Everything Billy told Finn was a lie, and the portal is opening, and there's nothing Finn can do to stop it. The horror on Finn's face in that moment tells the whole story. It's not just fear, it's betrayal, it's the shattering of innocence, it's the realization that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it wears the face of good. Sometimes your heroes die, and monsters puppet their corpses. Sometimes trust is a weapon used against you. Jake tries to fight. Of course he does. That's what Jake does. But what do you do against something that predates existence? The Lich doesn't fight back with violence. He fights back with inevitability, with the certainty of extinction, with the weight of cosmic truth. Jake's stretchy powers mean nothing against something that wants all power, all stretch, all existence to simply stop. The portal opens, a swirling gateway to the multiverse, to infinite realities, to everywhere and everywhen. And the Lich walks toward it like he's walking to a business meeting he's been planning for 1,000 years. Calm, unhurried, because this is just the next step. The Mushroom War was step 1, Billy was step 2, the multiverse is step 3, and step 4 is the extinction of all life across all realities. Simple, clean, inevitable. Finn and Jake follow because what else can they do? Let the Lich just leave. Let him access the multiverse unchallenged. No, heroes don't give up, even when your mentor's corpse just got revealed as a puppet, even when you're facing something that makes the Ice King look like a mild inconvenience, even when everything you thought you knew about heroism and trust and good triumphing over evil has been turned inside out. You follow, you fight, because that's what heroes do. Even when fighting means confronting your own trauma, even when the enemy's wearing your dead father figure, even when you know, deep down, that you're outmatched in every conceivable way. The Enchiridion's power is fully activated now. The portal is stable, and through it, Finn can see other worlds, other realities, other versions of ooh or not ooh. The multiverse spread out like a cosmic menu, and the Lich is heading straight for it with the kind of purpose that suggests he's already decided what he's ordering. Spoiler alert, it's extinction with a side of total annihilation. But here's where Finn's heroism shows itself. Not in strength or sword skills or even in being clever, in commitment, in refusing to let go, in grabbing onto the Lich and holding on even though every fibre of his being is screaming that touching death incarnate is a bad idea, in going through the portal with the monster because someone has to stop him, and if nobody else can, then it has to be Finn. Jake follows because Jake always follows, because that's what best friends do. Because even though this is clearly a terrible idea, even though they're literally chasing extinction into the multiverse, even though Jake would really rather be at home making sandwiches, Finn is going, and where Finn goes, Jake goes. That's the deal. That's the friendship. They tumble through the portal, through cosmic space between spaces, through the gaps in reality where the rules get fuzzy, and they emerge in the time room, Prismo's domain, where wishes get made and realities get bent, and the Lich is already there, walking toward the Wishmaster with the same calm certainty he's shown since he woke up from the mushroom bomb. But we're getting ahead of the story. Right now, we need to sit with what just happened. Billy is dead. The greatest hero Ooh ever produced died, and his death was kept secret, and his corpse was used, and his legacy was corrupted. Finn's idol, gone. His mentor, murdered. His trust, weaponized. Finding out your hero died and his corpse has been giving you life advice would send anyone to therapy. If therapy existed in Ooh, which it probably doesn't, which means Finn is going to process this trauma through adventure and sword fighting and maybe writing some songs about it. Because that's how you handle things when you're 13 and the apocalypse is wearing your dad's face. The philosophical weight here is enormous. The Lich's worldview isn't just dark, it's pre-dark. It comes from before darkness was even a concept worth naming. Before there was time, before there was anything, before there was nothing, there were monsters. He's not saying he's from the beginning. He's saying he's from before the beginning, from the place where concepts go to not exist yet. How do you fight that? How does a 13-year-old boy with a sword and a magic dog with stretchy powers fight something that predates reality itself? The answer is, you probably can't. Not directly, not with force, but maybe with something else, with the thing the Lich doesn't understand, with life, with meaning, with the stubborn insistence that existence matters even if it's temporary, even if it ends, even if extinction is inevitable. But that's a lesson Finn hasn't learned yet. Right now, he's just running on pure heroic instinct. Stop the bad guy. Save the world. Don't think too hard about the existential implications, because thinking leads to freezing, and freezing leads to the Lich winning. The portal closes behind them. Ooh is safe, for now, but the Lich is in the multiverse, and nothing will ever be the same. Because the threat isn't local anymore. It's not just about saving Ooh, it's about saving everything, every reality, every timeline, every version of existence across infinite possibilities, and standing between all of that and extinction is a boy, his dog, and the desperate hope that good can triumph even when your heroes are dead and evil is wearing their faces and the universe itself seems designed to prove that nothing matters. The Lich stands before Prismo, the Wishmaster, the cosmic monkey's paw. And Finn and Jake burst in just in time to hear 5 words that will haunt them forever. 5 words that encapsulate everything the Lich is and wants and believes. I wish for the extinction of all life. The portal opened. Billy's corpse fell away. The Lich revealed himself, and nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever be simple again. The time room exists outside of time, which is confusing to think about but makes perfect sense when you're there. It's a cosmic bubble where past, present and future are more like suggestions than rules. Where a pink elephant-like being named Prismo lounges on a projection of himself, granting wishes to whoever manages to find their way there. And right now, 3 beings have found their way there. 2 heroes and 1 monster. 2 kids trying to save everything, and 1 walking apocalypse trying to end it. Prismo sees them arrive. Of course he does. He's the Wishmaster. The cosmic bartender. The monkey's paw with better marketing. He knows why they're here. The Lich has been walking toward him with that same inevitable stride since the portal opened. Finn and Jake tumbled through seconds later, desperate and determined and way out of their depth. And Prismo, eternal and laid back and probably too casual for someone whose job description includes reshaping reality based on what people ask for, just watches. Because what else can he do? He's bound by rules, cosmic rules, the kind you can't break even if you want to. Anyone who makes it to the time room gets 1 wish. Doesn't matter if they're good or evil or somewhere in between. Doesn't matter what they wish for. The rules are the rules. And Prismo follows rules the way the Lich follows extinction. Absolutely, inevitably, without exception. The Lich approaches. Each step is measured, purposeful. There's no rush because rushing implies urgency, and the Lich doesn't do urgency. He does inevitability. He's been waiting millions of years for this moment. A few more seconds to cross the time room floor means nothing. Less than nothing. It's the cosmic equivalent of taking a breath before speaking. Preparation. Anticipation. Finn is screaming, trying to get there first. Trying to intercept. Trying to do something, anything to stop what's about to happen. But the time room is weird with distance. What looks like a short run becomes longer. What should take seconds stretches. It's like running in a dream where your legs move but you don't get any closer. Finn pushes harder. Jake stretches himself, trying to bridge the gap. But they're not going to make it. They both know it. The Lich knows it. Prismo knows it. And then the Lich reaches Prismo, stands before the cosmic wish granter, looks down at him with those empty eye sockets burning green fire, and speaks. 5 words. Simple. Direct. Impossible to misinterpret. The kind of wish that doesn't need clarification or fine print or careful wording to avoid monkey's paw consequences. Because the Lich knows exactly what he wants, has known for millions of years, has been planning this wish since before wishes were invented. I wish for the extinction of all life. The words hang in the air like a death sentence, like a judge's gavel falling. Like the universe itself holding its breath to see what happens next. Because this isn't a normal wish. This isn't I want to be rich, or I want true love, or I want to fly. This is a wish that, if granted as stated, would unmake existence itself. Would turn every reality, every timeline, every possible configuration of life across the infinite multiverse into nothing. Empty space, dead worlds, silent eternities. Prismo hears the wish, and you can see something in his expression. Not fear exactly, because cosmic beings probably don't do fear the way mortals do. But concern, recognition of the scope. This is the biggest wish anyone has ever made in his time room, the most destructive, the most final, and he's bound by cosmic law to grant it. Somehow, in some way. The rules don't give him an out, they just demand he interpret the wish and make it happen. But here's the thing about wishes, here's the cosmic loophole that saves existence. Wishes are interpretive, they require understanding what the wisher wants, and then delivering it in a way that technically fulfills the request. The letter of the wish matters more than the spirit, and the extinction of all life is broad, universal. It doesn't specify how. It doesn't specify where. It doesn't specify which timeline, Prismo interprets. And in that interpretation he finds wiggle room. The Lich wants extinction. Fine. Prismo will give him extinction, but extinction in the Lich's own timeline, not across all realities, just the one the Lich is currently occupying, which means the Lich will experience the extinction of all life, will witness it, will be the last thing left in a dead universe, alone, forever. Mission accomplished, technically speaking. The wish activates, reality bends. And the Lich begins to fade, not destroyed, not killed, just removed from the equation, sent to a timeline where his wish has already been granted, where all life is already extinct, where he's won but has nothing left to end. The perfect prison, the perfect irony. You wanted extinction? Here's extinction. Enjoy it, forever, by yourself. But Finn doesn't know this is happening. Finn just sees the Lich's wish being granted and panics, because from his perspective, existence is about to end. Everyone he loves is about to stop existing. Ooh, the Candy Kingdom, Princess Bubblegum, Jake, everyone and everything, gone. And he has seconds to stop it. Seconds to make a counter-wish that might undo this catastrophe. So Finn does what heroes do when they're out of time and options. He wishes without thinking. Just blurts out the first thing that comes to mind that might stop the Lich. I wish the Lich never existed. And Prismo, still in the middle of processing the Lich's wish, hears Finn's wish. Another wish. A second interpretation to make. And this one is interesting because it's asking for a timeline change. For a reality where the Lich never happened. Where the cascade of events that led to him waking up never occurred. Which means changing history. Creating an alternate timeline. a branch in reality's tree where things went differently. Prismo does what Prismo does. He grants the wish. But wishes have consequences. Cosmic consequences. Finn's wish creates a new timeline, an alternate Earth, a world where the Lich never existed. But if the Lich never existed, that means the Mushroom War never happened the same way. The Mushroom Bomb never became his awakening, which means civilization never ended, which means Earth kept going, became something different, something that never turned into ooh. Farm world. That's what this new timeline becomes. A world where the Mushroom War was prevented, where some hero in the past made a different choice, where humanity survived and kept existing and continued its normal development. Cities didn't fall, kingdoms didn't rise from radioactive ashes, magic stayed hidden. The world remained mundane, normal, the kind of Earth you'd recognize, just kept going into the future without apocalypse. And in this world, there's a Finn, farm world Finn, living on a farm with his family. No Jake, because Jake is the result of mutation from the Mushroom War's fallout. No adventures, because there's no ooh to have adventures in. Just normal life, farming, family, the kind of existence that our Finn can barely imagine, because he's never known anything but adventure and magic and fighting monsters. Finn gets pulled into this timeline, sees it, sees what he could have been if the world hadn't ended, if the Lich hadn't woken up, if everything had gone differently, and it's surreal, beautiful in its normalcy. Farmworld Finn is happy, has a family, lives a simple life without danger or heroism, or the weight of being the only human in a magical land. It's peaceful, safe, everything ooh isn't. But there's a problem, because the Lich's wish was already processing when Finn made his wish. And wishes don't just cancel each other out, they layer, they interact, they create complexity. The Lich was being sent to a dead timeline, but Finn created a new timeline where the Lich never existed, and those two wishes collide in the worst possible way. The Lich finds a loophole, because of course he does. Extinction always finds a way. In this world, without the Mushroom Bomb, the essence of the Lich still exists. The Green Catalyst comet still fell millions of years ago. The seed is still planted in Earth's primordial layers. It just never had the death energy to fully awaken, never had the Mushroom Bomb to catalyze manifestation. But now there's a crown. Evergreen's crown, the Ice King's crown. It exists in this timeline too. And Farmworld Finn, in trying to stop an unrelated threat, puts it on, becomes Ice Finn, gets corrupted by the crown's magic, and in his corruption, in the dark, desperate energy of someone losing themselves to alien magic, the crown reaches down, down through Earth's layers, down to where the Lich essence sleeps, and wakes it up. Not fully, not like the Mushroom Bomb did, but enough. Enough for the Lich to start manifesting, to start corrupting. To find a way to exist even in a world specifically designed to prevent his existence. Because that's what extinction does. It finds a way. You can't wish it away. You can only delay it, postpone it, give it a different path to the same destination. Farmworld starts dying, not all at once, not with the immediacy of nuclear war, but slowly, corrupted. The Lich essence spreads through Ice Finn, through the crown, through the magic that shouldn't exist in this timeline but does because crowns are persistent and ancient things that don't care about timeline consistency. The world starts changing, twisting, becoming sick. Our Finn watches this happen, realizes his wish didn't save anything, just created a new world for the Lich to ruin, a world where people who never asked for this nightmare are now living it, where his alternate self is being corrupted into something monstrous, where trying to prevent extinction just gave it a new vector to spread. The guilt is immediate, overwhelming. This is Finn's fault. He made the wish. He created this timeline. These people exist because of him, and now they're suffering because of him. That's the weight of cosmic power. That's what happens when you make wishes without thinking through the consequences. You create worlds. You create suffering. You become responsible for things you can't fix. Jake is there too, watching this unfold, watching his best friend realize that heroism isn't always enough, that sometimes trying to save things makes them worse, that wishes are tricky and cosmic powers are dangerous, and maybe, just maybe, some things can't be fixed with pure intentions and determination. And then things get worse. Because of course they do. In trying to stop the Lich essence in Farmworld, Jake does something desperate, something heroic and stupid and absolutely in character. He wishes to become the Lich, to take the corruption into himself, to save Farmworld Finn by absorbing the Lich essence, to protect Prismo, who's vulnerable when Jake's wish puts him in danger. Jake turns into the Lich. Stretchy yellow dog becomes skeletal green monster. Friend becomes extinction. And for a moment, everything Finn has ever feared is real. Jake, his best friend, his brother, the one person he can always count on, is now the thing Finn has been fighting. Is now death incarnate, is now the enemy. But it's still Jake in there, fighting, resisting, using his willpower and his love for Finn and his absolute refusal to let evil win to hold back the Lich essence, to stay himself even while wearing the skin of extinction. And in that moment of resistance, of heroic determination to be good even when corrupted by the ultimate evil, Jake saves Prismo, saves Farmworld, saves Finn from having to fight his best friend turned monster. The wish gets reversed. Jake turns back. The timeline stabilizes. Farmworld continues existing, damaged but alive, with Ice Finn as its tragic guardian against threats he helped create. And our Finn and Jake return to their timeline, their world, changed by what they witnessed, by what they learned, by the understanding that wishes have weight, that heroism has costs, that sometimes saving things means creating new problems. And the Lich? He's trapped in a timeline where his wish came true, where all life is extinct, where he's alone in an empty universe with nothing left to end. Victory and prison simultaneously. He got what he wanted, and it's nothing, literally nothing. Just him, and silence, and the eternal satisfaction of a job completed, and no one to appreciate it. No life to witness its own ending. No final moments to savour. Just done. Finished. Over. Prismo really should have had better wish-granting insurance. Extinction of all life is definitely not covered under standard cosmic liability. The paperwork alone must be astronomical. Get it? Astronomical? Because space? No? Fine. But here's the philosophical gut punch, the question that sits heavy in the aftermath. Can extinction be wished away? The answer is no. You can change timelines. You can create alternate realities. You can trap the Lich in empty universes. But the concept of extinction still exists. The green catalyst comet still fell. The essence is still buried in Earth's layers, in every timeline, in every reality, waiting. The Lich as an individual can be contained, delayed, moved around like a chess piece. But the idea of extinction, that's part of the cosmic order. That's woven into how reality works. Everything that begins must end. That's not evil. That's not malice. That's just physics, entropy, the heat death of the universe. The Lich isn't creating this truth. He's just enthusiastic about implementing it early. And across infinite realities, across every possible timeline, some version of this threat exists. Maybe it's the Lich. Maybe it's something else. But extinction is a constant. Death is inevitable. Endings are built into the structure of existence. You can't wish that away any more than you can wish away time or gravity, or the fact that Jake really likes sandwiches. Farmworld Finn becomes important later. The crown corrupts him fully eventually. He becomes Ice Finn, a version of the Ice King but different, tragic in new ways. And from his story comes the Finn Sword, a whole other adventure, a whole other consequence of wishes and timelines, and the complexity of trying to fix things with cosmic power. The multiverse is real now. Not theoretical, not abstract, real. Finn and Jake have seen it, have travelled through it, have created new timelines and witnessed alternate realities, and understand that their ooh is just one possibility among infinite possibilities. That there are other Finns living other lives, other Jakes having other adventures, other versions of everyone they know making different choices and living different stories. And in all of those timelines, in all of those infinite possibilities, the Lich exists, or could exist, or will exist, because extinction isn't limited to one reality. It's a feature, not a bug. It's part of the package deal of existence. You get life, and eventually you get death. You get creation, and eventually you get destruction. The cycle continues. The pattern holds. The Lich stands in his empty universe, alone, victorious, having achieved exactly what he wished for. And there's no satisfaction because satisfaction requires being satisfied, and the Lich doesn't do emotions like that. There's just completion. The job is done. All life in this timeline is extinct. Mission accomplished. And now what? Now nothing. Forever. Just him, an emptiness, and the perfect silence of absolute ending. Is that a prison? Is that victory? Is it both? The answer depends on whether you think the Lich can be lonely, whether eternal isolation matters to something that wanted everyone dead anyway, whether winning at the cost of having no one left to beat counts as winning. Philosophy gets weird when you're dealing with cosmic-scale wishes and extinction incarnate. Finn and Jake return home different, quieter, more aware of the weight their actions carry, more understanding that heroism isn't always about swinging swords and saving princesses. Sometimes it's about living with the consequences of your choices. About knowing you created a timeline where people suffer and you can't fix it. About understanding that some problems don't have solutions, just better or worse outcomes. The Enchiridion is gone, used up in opening the portal, its power expended, one less cosmic artifact to worry about, one less tool for evil to use, but plenty of others remain. The multiverse doesn't run out of powerful objects and dangerous knowledge. It just recycles them, puts them in new places, waits for new heroes or villains to find them. And somewhere in the complexity of infinite timelines and cosmic wishes, and the weight of heroic choices, a truth emerges. The Lich can be stopped, has been stopped, but extinction can't be defeated, only delayed, only transformed, only accepted as part of the cycle, because that's what it is, part of the pattern, creation, change, destruction, rebirth, round and round, forever, until heat death or cosmic reset or whatever comes next. The Lich wished for extinction, and got it. Finn wished to prevent the Lich and created new problems. Prismo granted both wishes and maintained cosmic balance, and reality kept going, slightly more complicated, slightly more damaged, but still going. Because that's what reality does. It persists, even when extinction itself makes a wish, even when heroes create timelines by accident, even when everything seems hopeless. Life finds a way, annoying, persistent, stubborn, beautiful, even when the universe clearly said it's time to end, even when extinction gets exactly what it wished for. Life just keeps going, in other timelines, other possibilities, other versions where things went differently. Across infinite realities, the Lich is a constant, but so is life, so is hope, so is the stubborn refusal to accept that ending is inevitable, just because some cosmic force says so. That's the real battle. Not Finn versus the Lich, but life versus extinction, existence versus entropy, the temporary versus the inevitable, and somehow, impossibly, temporarily keeps winning, keeps finding new ways to exist, keeps proving that maybe, just maybe, the end isn't as certain as it seems. The Lich stands alone in his empty universe, and somewhere, across infinite realities, life continues, growing, loving, creating, telling stories about heroes and monsters and wishes that go wrong, and friends who save each other even when one of them briefly becomes extinction incarnate. The multiverse is vast, extinction is patient, and in the space between those two truths, adventure continues, mathematical. Sometimes the universe looks at a problem and decides the solution should be impossible, literally impossible. The kind of thing that breaks every rule about how reality works and does it anyway because, hey, why not? This is one of those times. Because the Lich, extinction incarnate, death-wearing skin, the walking embodiment of ending itself, is about to become a baby. And not just any baby, a good baby, an innocent baby. A baby who will grow up with the capacity for kindness and love and all the things the Lich spent millions of years trying to eradicate. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, there's a prison, the Citadel, a cosmic jail floating in space where the worst beings in the multiverse get locked away. Criminals so dangerous that regular prisons can't hold them. Monsters so powerful that normal containment isn't an option. This is where you put things that break the universe if you let them wander around. And this is where Finn's father is, Martin, the deadbeat dad, the guy who abandoned his son and never looked back. Finn has been looking for his dad his whole life. Every human instinct in his body says there should be another human out there, that he can't be the only one, and he's right. Martin exists. Just locked up in the Citadel for crimes we don't fully understand but can assume are pretty bad because, again, this is where you put the universe's worst. So Finn goes to rescue him, because that's what heroes do. That's what sons do, even when every sign points to this being a terrible idea, even when Jake is skeptical, even when the universe itself seems to be saying, maybe don't. Finn goes because he's spent his entire life wondering about his dad, and now he knows where he is, and he has to try. They break into the Citadel. It's as bad as you'd expect. Worse, maybe. Monsters and criminals and beings of pure malice locked in crystal prisons. And there's Martin, looking nothing like the hero Finn imagined, looking exactly like a con artist who'd abandon his kid. But he's human. He's Finn's dad. And for a moment, Finn thinks maybe this will work out. Maybe they can escape together. Maybe there's still a chance for the relationship he's always wanted. Then everything goes wrong. Because of course it does. The Lich is there. Still contained, still imprisoned after his wish trapped him in an empty timeline, but contained isn't destroyed, imprisoned isn't defeated, and the Lich has been waiting, planning, looking for any opportunity to escape, and Finn just gave him one by breaking into the Citadel. The Lich makes his move, not with violence, not with dramatic villain speeches, just with opportunity. With the chaos of Finn's rescue attempt, with the moment when security is compromised and systems are failing and reality is getting fuzzy, he breaks free, not fully manifested, not at full power, but free enough, mobile enough, dangerous enough, and he goes after Prismo. Because the Lich remembers the time room, remembers the wish that trapped him, remembers that Prismo is the key to reshaping reality. And if he can kill Prismo, if he can end the Wishmaster, he can break the cosmic rules that bound him, can remake reality without the safeguards, can finish what he started. Prismo is vulnerable, more vulnerable than anyone realized. Because he's not just a cosmic being floating in the time room, he's also an old man sleeping in a bed somewhere in reality, dreaming Prismo into existence. If the old man dies, Prismo dies. If Prismo dies, the time room collapses, and the Lich knows this, has figured it out, has found the weakness in cosmic armor. The Lich attacks, and in the chaos, in the desperate fight to protect Prismo and stop the Lich and save reality itself, something breaks. Not just Prismo, not just the time room, the Citadel itself. The cosmic prison holding the multiverse's worst starts falling apart. Crystal prisons shatter, monsters escape, and in the center of it all the Lich is reaching for his victory. Finn loses his arm, not metaphorically, literally. His right arm gets destroyed in the chaos, ripped away, gone. And in that moment of physical trauma, in that instant of pain and loss, Finn makes a choice. Not to give up, not to retreat, but to keep fighting. One-armed, bleeding, desperate. Because that's what heroes do. They keep going even when everything's falling apart, even when their bodies break, even when victory seems impossible. The Lich is about to kill Prismo. About to end the cosmic wish granter and break reality, about to achieve a victory that would unmake the rules binding him, and then something impossible happens. Billy's spirit appears, not Billy's corpse that the Lich wore, Billy himself, his actual spirit, his essence, the part of him that the Lich couldn't corrupt because heroism isn't just flesh and bone, it's something deeper. Billy's spirit has a plan, a cosmic intervention arranged with beings beyond even Prismo's level. A plan so wild it shouldn't work. A plan that requires breaking fundamental rules about existence and death and rebirth. A plan that asks the question, what if evil could be transformed? Not defeated, not destroyed, transformed. The plan works like this. The Lich's body gets destroyed in the Citadel's collapse, his physical form obliterated, but his essence remains. That core of extinction that came from the green catalyst comet, that fundamental death energy that predates time. You can't destroy that. It's too fundamental, too woven into cosmic structure. But maybe, just maybe, you can redirect it, reshape it, give it a new vessel, a new chance, a cosmic do-over wrapped in impossible metaphysics. The essence of the Lich gets poured into new flesh, not adult flesh. Not a body that comes with memories or personality or the weight of millions of years of extinction. Baby flesh, a newborn, blank slate, pure potential. And when this baby emerges, crying and confused and utterly innocent, it's both the Lich and not the Lich at all. Sweet Pea, that's what he gets called. Sweet Pea for short, a baby containing the essence of the universe's greatest threat. But he's not threatening, he's just a baby, crying when hungry, sleeping when tired, reaching for comfort when scared. No memories of being the Lich, no desire for extinction, no cosmic malice, just baby things, baby needs, baby innocence. And the universe has to decide what to do with him, because this isn't simple. This isn't evil becomes good in a straightforward redemption arc. This is metaphysically complicated. Is Sweet Pea a new person who happens to contain the Lich's essence? Or is he the Lich reincarnated without his memories? Is this redemption or replacement? Transformation or reset? The answer is yes, all of it. Sweet Pea is his own person, but he's also the Lich. The essence is still there. The cosmic weight remains. He's both things simultaneously. A baby with the potential for either path. Innocence built on a foundation of ancient evil. The possibility of good emerging from the most fundamental source of bad. And someone needs to raise him. Someone needs to take this baby who used to be extinction incarnate and teach him how to be good, how to be kind, how to choose life over death, how to be Sweet Pea instead of the Lich. And the universe picks the most unexpected parents possible. Tree Trunks, the tiny yellow elephant who bakes pies. Who's sweet and innocent and married to Mr. Pig. Who has no combat experience, no cosmic understanding, no preparation for raising the reincarnated essence of universal extinction. Just maternal instinct and baking skills, and the absolute conviction that every child deserves love, even children who used to be apocalypses. Mr. Pig steps up too, not because he understands the cosmic significance, not because he's prepared for this responsibility, but because Tree Trunk says this baby needs a home. And when your wife says a baby needs a home, you make room, you build a nursery, you learn to change diapers. Even if the baby in question contains the spiritual essence of something that wanted all life to end, and they raise him, Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig, with help from the community, with protection from Finn, with the entire Candy Kingdom watching nervously to see if this impossible gamble will pay off, or if one day Sweet Pea will remember what he was and finish what the Lich started. Sweet Pea grows up innocent, learns to walk, learns to talk, plays with toys, makes friends, goes to school, has the completely normal childhood you wouldn't expect for someone whose previous existence involved walking through the mushroom war causing extinctions. And for years it works. He's just a kid, maybe a little quiet, maybe with moments where something ancient flickers behind his eyes, but mostly just a kid. Except he's not just a kid. The essence is still there. Dormant but present, and sometimes, in dreams or moments of stress or when the cosmic weight gets too heavy, the Lich bleeds through, not taking over, not possessing, just whispering, reminding, making sure Sweet Pea knows what he used to be, what he could become again, what's sleeping inside him waiting for the right trigger. Imagine growing up knowing you used to be the apocalypse, knowing that inside you is the concentrated desire to end all life. Knowing that you didn't choose to be born from that essence, you're just stuck with it. Carrying the weight of ancient evil while trying to have playdates and do homework and be normal, that's Sweet Pea's existence, that's his struggle, not against external villains, against himself, against history, against the possibility that one day he might remember and become what he was. The community response is complicated. Some people are terrified, think Sweet Pea should be destroyed before he becomes a threat. Think you can't redeem extinction. Think this is a time bomb waiting to explode. Others are protective, think every child deserves a chance, think that Sweet Pea is not the Lich, that judging him for something he doesn't remember and didn't choose is wrong. The debate never quite resolves. People just learn to live with uncertainty. Finn's role transforms completely. He went from fighting the Lich to protecting Sweet Pea, from trying to destroy evil to trying to nurture good. It's the ultimate test of heroism. Can you protect someone who used to be your greatest enemy? Can you believe in redemption even when the thing being redeemed is extinction itself? Can you look at a child and see possibility instead of history? Finn does. Not easily, not without doubt, but he does. Becomes Sweet Pea's guardian in a way, his protector, his friend. The one who makes sure the kid gets a fair chance, who stands between Sweet Pea and anyone who wants to judge him for crimes he doesn't remember committing, who believes, sometimes against all evidence, that transformation is possible, that even the Lich can become something beautiful, and the philosophical weight here is enormous. Can evil be reborn as good? Not reformed. Not redeemed through actions and atonement, but literally reborn, reset, given a completely clean slate. Is that even possible? Does the essence of extinction remain fundamentally corrupt? Or can it be reshaped? Can the same cosmic energy that wanted all life dead be redirected toward protecting life? Toward creating instead of destroying? Adventure Time says yes, but it's a complicated yes. Sweet Pea is good, genuinely good, kind, caring, everything the Lich wasn't. But he's also carrying that history, that weight, that possibility. He could fall, could remember, could let the ancient voice win. The potential for regression is always there. Not because evil is stronger than good, but because the essence is so fundamental, so deeply woven into his being. You can't just erase it. You can only choose every day to be something else. And Sweet Pea chooses, every day, every moment, to be kind when the voice whispers about endings, to help when instinct says destroy, to build when nature suggests decay. It's not easy. It's not automatic. It's constant choice, constant effort, constant rejection of what he was in favor of what he wants to be. The haunting question persists. Is Sweet Pea a person, a full individual with agency and identity, or is he just the Lich's dream, a long sleep where extinction thinks it's a child having a childhood? Will he wake up one day and realize none of this was real, that he's still the Lich, and this was just an intermission between extinctions? The show doesn't answer definitively, leaves it ambiguous, because maybe that's the point. Maybe identity isn't fixed. Maybe what you are is less important than what you choose. Maybe Sweet Pea is both the Lich and Sweet Pea. Maybe he's neither. Maybe he's something new, something the universe never intended. Something impossible made real through cosmic intervention and stubborn belief in transformation. Turns out the apocalypse just needed a nap and some apple juice, and patient parents. And a community willing to give him a chance, and a hero who believes in redemption more than revenge, and cosmic beings willing to break fundamental rules about how existence works, and a universe weird enough to allow this. Maybe the real victory isn't destroying evil. Maybe it's transforming it. Maybe it's taking the most fundamental force of ending and teaching it to create. Maybe it's proving that nothing, not even extinction itself, is beyond the possibility of change. That's the lesson Sweet Pea represents. Not that evil can be defeated through superior force, but that it can be changed through superior love. Sweet Pea grows up with that weight, with that knowledge, with that constant choice, and he chooses good. Not because it's easy, not because the alternative isn't there, but because Tree Trunks makes good pies, and Mr. Pig tells dad jokes and Finn believes in him, and the Candy Kingdom gives him chances, and somewhere, deep down, the essence of extinction looks at life and decides maybe, just maybe, existing isn't so bad after all. The Lich wanted nothing. Sweet Pea wants everything, wants to experience, to learn, to love, to be. And in that wanting, in that choosing, in that daily rejection of ancient purpose in favor of present joy, something fundamental shifts. The cycle doesn't just continue, it transforms. Death doesn't just take. Sometimes, impossibly, it gives. Maybe the universe looks at extinction and asks, what if you tried something different? What if instead of ending you began? What if the energy that destroys could build? What if the force that erases could create? Sweet Pea is the answer to those questions. Not a perfect answer, not an easy answer, but an answer that suggests transformation is always possible, even for the worst things, even for extinction itself, and that's more terrifying and more hopeful than any amount of sword fighting or world saving. because it means nothing is permanent, not good, not evil, not identity, not purpose. Everything can change. Everything is fluid. Everything is possibility wrapped in choice, wrapped in cosmic uncertainty. Sweet Pea is living proof that the universe is weirder and kinder and more flexible than we give it credit for. The essence of the Lich sleeps inside him, but Sweet Pea is awake, and he's choosing to be Sweet Pea. Every single day, against history, against nature, against cosmic purpose. Just choosing to be a kid who likes his parents and his friends and living and existing. And that choice matters more than ancient comet essence or extinction manifestation or any amount of predestined purpose. Maybe evil can become good. Maybe transformation beats destruction. Maybe the real victory is teaching death to love life. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most mathematical thing of all. Growing up is hard. Growing up as the reincarnation of extinction incarnate is significantly harder. Like, exponentially harder. The kind of harder that makes normal childhood problems seem quaint. Worried about fitting in at school? Try fitting in when you used to be the universe's greatest threat. Struggling with identity? Try figuring out who you are when your previous self wanted everyone dead. Having nightmares? Try having nightmares where an ancient voice reminds you that you're carrying the concentrated essence of cosmic evil. This is Sweet Pea's childhood, and for the first few years it's manageable. He's young enough that the weight doesn't fully register. Young enough that being different just means being another weird kid in O, and O has plenty of weird kids. Candy kids made of literal sugar. Fire kids who burn everything they touch. A kid who's half rainicorn and speaks Korean. Sweet Pea fits right in. Sure, he's a little bigger than the other kids. Sure, there's something ancient in his eyes sometimes. But mostly he's just Sweet Pea, the kid who lives with tree trunks and Mr. Pig. The kid who likes playing and learning and existing. But as he gets older, awareness grows. Understanding deepens. And with understanding comes the weight. Sweet Pea starts having dreams. Not normal kid dreams about flying or showing up to school without pants. Dreams about green fire, about walking through ruins, about a voice that sounds like grinding tombstones saying things about ending and nothing and the beautiful silence of extinction. Dreams that feel less like imagination and more like memory. Like something bleeding through from a past he didn't live but somehow carries. He wakes up from these dreams terrified. Not of monsters under the bed or darkness in the closet, of himself, of what he might become, of the possibility that one morning he'll wake up and the dreams won't be dreams anymore. They'll be reality, and Sweet Pea will be gone, replaced by the thing he used to be, the Lich, wearing his childhood like the Lich once wore Billy's corpse. Tree Trunks holds him when he cries, tells him it's just dreams, that everyone has bad dreams, that he's safe and loved and nothing bad will happen. And she means it, believes it. Because Tree Trunks has faith in goodness the way other people have faith in gravity. Absolute, unshakable. The kind of faith that bakes pies for everyone and sees potential in the reincarnated apocalypse. But Mr. Pig knows better. He sees the fear in Sweet Pea's eyes. The way the boy sometimes freezes mid-sentence like he's hearing something no one else can hear. The way he avoids mirrors sometimes because seeing his own reflection triggers something. Mr. Pig doesn't have answers, doesn't have cosmic wisdom. He's just a pig who married an elephant and somehow ended up raising Extinction's second chance. But he tries, tells Sweet Pea that who you were doesn't define who you are, that every day is a choice, that family means supporting each other even when things get weird, especially when things get weird. School is its own challenge. The Candy Kingdom sets up education for all its citizens. Princess Bubblegum believes in learning and growth and development, so Sweet Pea goes to school with the other kids. Sits in classrooms learning math and reading and science, tries to participate in group activities, attempts to make friends, and mostly it works. The other kids are nice enough, curious about him but not cruel. They ask questions. Why is he so tall? Why does he look different? Where did he come from? And Sweet Pea doesn't know how to answer. What do you say? I used to be the embodiment of cosmic extinction, but I got better. That's not exactly playground conversation, so he says his parents found him, that he's adopted, that he's just different, and the kids accept that because in Ooh, different is normal, everyone's different, different is the baseline. But there are moments when something triggers and Sweet Pea feels the weight of what he was, A history lesson about the Mushroom War makes him dizzy. Discussion of heroes and villains makes his head hurt. Someone mentions the Lich in passing, and Sweet Pea has to excuse himself, has to go outside and breathe and remind himself that he's not that. He's Sweet Pea. He's just a kid. He didn't do those things. He doesn't remember doing those things. He's not responsible for crimes committed by an essence before it became him, except he is, and he isn't. The philosophical complexity is too much for a child's mind. The guilt without memory, the responsibility without action, the weight of history he didn't live but can't escape. It's trauma on a cosmic scale delivered to someone who should be worried about spelling tests and playground games. Finn visits regularly, checks in. Make sure Sweet Pea is okay. Make sure the community isn't treating him badly. Make sure the kid knows he has someone in his corner, someone who believes in him, someone who fought the Lich and still thinks Sweet Pea deserves a chance. That belief matters. When you're carrying the weight of ancient evil, having a hero believe in you is life-changing, literally. It's the difference between succumbing to what you were and becoming what you want to be. They play games. Finn teaches Sweet Pea about heroism, not the fighting kind, the choosing good even when it's hard kind, the standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves kind, the being brave enough to be kind kind. And Sweet Pea absorbs it, wants to be like Finn, wants to be a hero instead of a monster. Wants to prove that transformation is real and possible and permanent. But the voice is always there, not loud, not constant, just persistent. A whisper in the back of his mind when he's tired or stressed or scared, reminding him, you used to be powerful, you used to be purpose incarnate, you had meaning, you had direction. All this choosing and struggling and pretending to be good is exhausting. Wouldn't it be easier to just remember? To just be what you were? To stop fighting and let the extinction flow? Sweet Pea fights it. Every time, every single whisper, says no, says he's not that, says he chooses this life, these parents, these friends, this existence. The voice doesn't argue, doesn't get angry, just waits, patient as entropy. Because that's what extinction does. It waits, and Sweet Pea is young, and fighting is exhausting, and eventually maybe the voice will catch him in a weak moment. There's an episode, Gold Stars, where Sweet Pea's past becomes impossible to ignore. The Lich King, a different villain, comes to the Candy Kingdom. And something about his presence, his dark energy, his connection to ancient evil triggers Sweet Pea. The boy starts acting strange, more aggressive, more frightened. The ancient essence responding to something familiar, something that speaks to what he used to be. And for a moment, just a moment, Sweet Pea loses control. The Lich bleeds through, not fully manifested, not taking over completely, but present, visible. The green fire in his eyes, the voice that's too old for his throat, the presence that makes reality bend, and everyone sees it. The thing they've been afraid of, the confirmation that yes, the Lich is still in there, still possible, still waiting. Finn has to intervene, has to talk Sweet Pea down, has to remind him who he is, not what he was, not what he might become, who he is right now. Sweet Pea, the kid, the person, the boy who chooses good even when evil is easier. And Sweet Pea comes back, regains control, pushes the voice down, but everyone saw, everyone knows. The illusion of safety is broken, the aftermath is complicated. Some parents don't want their kids around Sweet Pea anymore, think he's too dangerous, think the risk isn't worth it. The Candy Kingdom debates what to do. Whether Sweet Pea should be monitored more closely, whether he should be removed from school, whether the experiment of redemption has failed. Princess Bubblegum makes a decision. She's a scientist. She believes in data and observation and controlled variables. But she's also someone who understands that people are more than their components, that Sweet Pea is not just Lich essence in a boy shape, that he's a person with agency and choice and the right to determine his own future. So she sides with giving him another chance. With protection and monitoring, yes, but also with trust, with the belief that transformation is possible if you support it properly. Tree Trunks never wavers, never doubts. Her boy had a bad moment, That's all. Everyone has bad moments. Doesn't mean he's evil. Doesn't mean he'll become the Lich. Just means he's struggling with something incredibly difficult and needs more support, not less. She bakes him a pie, his favourite, because that's how Tree Trunk solves problems, with unconditional love and really good baking. Sweet Pea feels the weight of that moment forever. The loss of control, the fear in everyone's eyes, the confirmation of their worst suspicions. He didn't mean to, didn't want to, didn't choose it, but it happened anyway. And now he has to live with knowing that yes, the Lich is still there. Still possible, still a threat. Not to the world, maybe, but to himself, to his identity, to the person he's trying to be. The nightmares get worse, more frequent, more vivid. He sees things from the Lich's perspective, sees the Mushroom War, sees Billy's death, sees the wish in the Time Room, sees things he wasn't present for because he didn't exist yet, but the essence remembers. And memory bleeds through into dreams, into consciousness, into the daily struggle to be Sweet Pea instead of the alternative. There's a parent-teacher conference, Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig sitting in tiny chairs designed for candy people, while a teacher explains Sweet Pea's progress. He's doing well academically, good at problem-solving, creative thinker. But sometimes he zones out. Sometimes he seems to be listening to something no one else can hear. Sometimes his essays about what he wants to be when he grows up are concerning, not because they're violent, because they're too focused on preventing harm, on protecting people, on making sure nothing like the Lich ever happens again. The teacher doesn't know how to handle this, doesn't know if it's healthy processing or warning signs, doesn't know if encouraging Sweet Pea's desire to be a protector is good, or if it's just reinforcing his identity crisis. Tree Trunk smiles, says her boy is thoughtful and caring and those are good qualities. Mr. Pig nods. They thank the teacher. They don't mention that sometimes Sweet Pea speaks in ancient tongues about ending all life. That's probably just a phase, right? Definitely just a phase. The other kids' responses vary. Some are scared now. Keep their distance. Don't invite Sweet Pea to play anymore. Others are protective. Think it's unfair to judge him for something he can't control. Become his friend specifically because he needs friends. Because being isolated makes everything worse. Because if they don't give him a reason to stay Sweet Pea, what's stopping him from becoming the Lich? And Sweet Pea feels all of it. The fear, the pity, the genuine friendship mixed with ulterior motive, the weight of everyone's expectations and fears projected onto him. He's not just carrying his own struggle, he's carrying everyone else's anxiety about what he might become. Every interaction is coloured by history he doesn't remember. Every friendship is complicated by the question of whether people like him or just want to keep the Lich neutralised through kindness. Imagine being born carrying the weight of another being's sins, sins you didn't commit, don't remember, didn't choose. But everyone knows about them, everyone judges you for them, everyone sees you through the lens of what you used to be rather than what you are. That's generational trauma on a cosmic scale. That's being held responsible for crimes you didn't commit by virtue of sharing essence with the perpetrator. The philosophical question haunts everything. If you have no memory of being evil, were you ever evil? If the essence is the same but the consciousness is different, is it the same person? Is Sweet Pea the Lich with amnesia? Or is he a new person built from the Lich's components? Does it matter? Should it matter? Can transformation be real if the foundation remains fundamentally corrupt? Adventure Time doesn't give easy answers, shows Sweet Pea struggling, shows the community struggling, shows everyone trying to figure out how to handle an impossible situation. Because that's more realistic, more honest. Real transformation is messy. Redemption is complicated. Change is constant work. Not a single moment of decision. Sweet Pea keeps choosing, keeps fighting the voice, keeps being kind when instinct whispers about ending, keeps helping when nature suggests destroying, keeps existing when the ancient part of him argues that nothing should exist at all. And some days are harder than others. Some days the voice is louder, some days the weight is too heavy, some days he's not sure he can keep fighting. But he does, because Tree Trunks makes pie, because Mr. Pig tells jokes, because Finn believes in him, because his friends choose to be his friends, because the alternative is unthinkable, because Sweet Pea, the person, the identity, the conscious choosing entity, wants to live, wants to exist, wants to prove that even extinction can learn to love life. The Lich sleeps inside him, but it's not a peaceful sleep. It's the sleep of something waiting, patient, certain, knowing that eventually, in a moment of weakness or stress or fear, there might be an opening, a chance to remind Sweet Pea what power feels like, what purpose feels like, what it means to be something greater than a confused child trying to fit in. And Sweet Pea knows this, lives with it. The constant awareness that he's one bad day away from becoming something terrible, that's his normal, that's his baseline. Existence as constant vigilance against your own nature, fighting not external enemies but internal history, being your own worst threat and your own greatest hope simultaneously. Does the Lich dream while sleeping? Does he experience Sweet Pea's life? Is he aware, or is he truly dormant, waiting for specific triggers to wake him? The show leaves it ambiguous. But the implications are haunting. Maybe extinction is experiencing childhood through Sweet Pea's eyes. Maybe it's learning what existence feels like from the inside. Maybe it's being slowly transformed by the very thing it wanted to destroy. Or maybe it's just sleeping, waiting, patient as always, knowing that sleep ends, that waiting pays off, that eventually in 1,000 years or a moment of crisis, the cycle continues. Creation, change, destruction, rebirth. And Sweet Pea is the destruction phase trying to skip straight to rebirth, fighting against cosmic pattern, against inevitable cycle, against the universe's expectation of how things should work. The real mystery of growing up as Sweet Pea isn't whether the Lich will return, it's whether Sweet Pea will remain, whether the person he's building, the identity he's choosing, the life he's living, is strong enough to withstand the weight of ancient evil. Whether love and pie and bad jokes and genuine friendship are more powerful than cosmic purpose, an extinction essence, and the voice that never quite goes away. Some days, Sweet Pea wins. Some days the voice is barely noticeable. Some days, he's just a kid having a childhood, playing games. Learning things, being annoying to his parents, living. And those days give hope, prove transformation is possible, show that even the worst things can become good things with enough support and choice and stubborn refusal to accept cosmic destiny. Other days are harder. The voice is louder, the dreams are worse, the weight crushes, and Sweet Pea has to fight, has to choose, has to remind himself who he is. And on those days, heroism looks different. It's not swinging swords or saving kingdoms, it's getting out of bed, going to school, being kind to people even when your head hurts, choosing to exist even when nothing sounds appealing. That's the real adventure. Not fighting external monsters, but internal ones. Not saving the world, but saving yourself. Not proving you're good, but choosing to be good even when everything in your cosmic DNA suggests otherwise. Sweet Pea's struggle is the most heroic thing in Adventure Time. Not because it's flashy, because it's real, because it's constant, because it matters. The Lich sleeps. But does he dream? And if he dreams, what does extinction dream about? Does he dream about ending? Or does he dream about pie and jokes and friends and the weird, beautiful, stubborn persistence of life? Does experiencing existence through Sweet Pea change him? Or is he unchangeable, just waiting for his moment to reassert cosmic purpose? Nobody knows. Not Sweet Pea, not tree trunks, not Finn, not Princess Bubblegum, not the universe itself, because this is unprecedented. Extinction has never been transformed before. Death has never chosen life. The cycle has never been interrupted like this. Sweet Pea is an experiment in cosmic redemption, and nobody knows if experiments succeed until they're complete. And Sweet Pea keeps living, keeps choosing, keeps fighting, keeps being the impossible transformation that maybe, just maybe, proves that nothing is beyond change, that even the worst things contain the possibility of becoming the best things, that extinction can learn to create, that death can learn to love, that the Lich can become Sweet Pea and mean it. The voice whispers. Sweet Pea says no, and another day passes, another choice made, another victory in the endless struggle to be yourself when yourself is built on cosmic evil. It's exhausting, it's constant, it's the definition of heroism, and Sweet Pea does it every single day, because that's what heroes do, even when the hero is also the villain, even when the battle is internal, even when victory looks like just making it through another day without becoming the apocalypse. That's heroism. That's transformation. That's sweet pea. And the Lich sleeps, patient as entropy, certain as death, waiting as always. But sleeping isn't the same as winning, and as long as Sweet Pea keeps choosing, keeps fighting, keeps being Sweet Pea, the waiting continues, the sleep continues, the transformation holds, for now. There's something above the Lich. Which sounds impossible, because what's scarier than extinction incarnate? What's more fundamental than the end of all things? What could possibly be higher on the cosmic food chain than death wearing skin and walking through reality with the sole purpose of ending it? The answer is chaos. Not the fun kind of chaos where you mix up your socks or put pizza toppings in weird combinations. The fundamental kind. The primordial kind. The kind that makes Prismo, Cosmic Wish Granter and Reality Bender genuinely nervous. Golb. Not an acronym. Not all capitals, just Golb. The embodiment of chaos and discord itself. The thing that exists before order. The force that unmakes meaning. The cosmic principle that says structure is temporary and entropy is art, and everything you build will eventually dissolve into beautiful, terrible formlessness. Golb makes the Lich look like middle management, makes extinction look like a business strategy rather than the entire concept of business ending forever. And the Lich knows about Golb, has always known, because when you predate time and exist as a manifestation of cosmic principles, you're aware of the hierarchy. You know your place in the grand scheme. And the Lich's place, terrifying as it is not at the top. He's powerful, he's ancient, he's extinction incarnate, but he serves something greater. Something that doesn't just want things to end. Something that wants the very concept of things to dissolve into primordial chaos. This revelation comes slowly through the series. Hints dropped, references made. Magic Man, before he becomes normal man, warns about Golb, talks about the ultimate chaos, the thing that even the cosmic beings fear, and you think maybe it's hyperbole. Maybe it's just Magic Man being dramatic because that's what Magic Man does, but then you see more, you learn more, you realise the cosmology of Adventure Time goes deeper than you thought, that there are layers upon layers of cosmic horror wrapped in candy coating. The Lich prays, not often, not in the way mortals pray, but he acknowledges a higher power, and that power is Golb, the Lich who wants to end all life, who predates existence, who laughs at nuclear apocalypse, prays to something, which means that something is more fundamental than extinction, more powerful than death, more inevitable than ending. What does chaos want that extinction doesn't? The answer is complicated. The Lich wants ending, clean, final, complete. Everything stops existing and stays stopped. That's order in its own way. It's the most extreme form of order. Perfect stillness, perfect silence, perfect nothing. The Lich is methodical, patient, structured in his approach to unstructuring everything. He has a plan. He has purpose. He has direction. Golb doesn't want that. Golb wants chaos, which means constant change, constant dissolution and reformation, things falling apart and coming together in new, wrong, impossible configurations. Golb doesn't want things to end and stay ended. Golb wants things to end and become other things and end again, and become more things in an infinite cycle of chaotic transformation. Order into chaos, into different order, into different chaos forever and ever, until the very concept of forever dissolves into something that makes no sense. So how do the Lich and Golb align? How does extinction serve chaos? The answer is that ending is a form of chaos. Destruction is a form of change. The Lich doesn't just want things dead. He wants them unmade, returned to primordial nothing, and nothing is the ultimate chaos because it has no structure at all. No pattern, no meaning, just the void where anything could happen because nothing is happening. The Lich serves Golb by creating the conditions for ultimate chaos. By removing all structure, by ending all patterns, by making reality so empty that chaos can fill it completely. But there's tension here, because the Lich wants permanent ending. Golb wants constant change. The Lich wants silence. Golb is noise. The Lich is focused purpose. Golb is scattered madness. They align because they both want to unmake what exists, but their end goals are different. The Lich wants nothing. Golb wants everything, constantly becoming nothing, becoming everything, becoming nothing in endless, meaningless cycle. This makes the Lich's existence tragic in a new way. He's not just fighting against life. He's serving a master whose ultimate goal contradicts his own. He wants permanent extinction, but he serves chaos, which is never permanent. He wants ending as the final state, but chaos has no final state. Everything with Golb is transitional, temporary, always shifting. The Lich is order wearing death's face, serving disorder wearing chaos's face. The philosophical contradiction is built into his existence. Magic Man knows about Golb because Magic Man is from Mars, was part of a civilization that understood cosmic forces, that mapped the hierarchy, that knew what existed beyond their understanding and feared it appropriately. And when Magic Man's lover Margles gets taken by Golb, he breaks, goes mad, becomes the chaos-spreading trickster we meet in early episodes, not because he's evil, because he's traumatized by exposure to ultimate chaos, by watching someone he loved get dissolved into Golb's essence, and knowing she's not dead, but also not alive, but also not anything comprehensible anymore. Magic Man's warnings about Golb are treated as the ravings of a cosmic trickster. Nobody takes them seriously. Why would they? Magic Man is annoying. He turns people into objects for fun. He messes with reality because he can. His credibility is shot. But he's not lying about Golb. He's not exaggerating. If anything, he's understating. Because how do you explain something that makes your brain hurt to think about? How do you convey the horror of chaos so fundamental that it unmakes meaning itself? Princess Bubblegum studies this stuff, has files, research, understanding that ooh exists in a cosmology much bigger and stranger than most citizens realize. She knows about elementals, about catalyst comets, about the cosmic forces that shape reality, and she knows about Golb, knows that somewhere out there, beyond the reaches of normal magic and science, is something that could unmake her kingdom, her people, her entire reality without effort. Just by touching it, just by noticing it exists. But knowledge doesn't mean power, not against chaos. You can't prepare for Golb, you can't build defences, you can't make contingency plans, because Golb unmakes plans, dissolves preparation. Turns structure into disorder. The best you can do is hope Golb doesn't notice you, doesn't turn his attention your way, doesn't decide that your particular corner of reality needs more chaos. And then Betty summons Golb, because of course she does. Betty, who loved Simon before he became Ice King. Betty, who's been trying to fix him for years. Betty, who's more desperate and determined than common sense. She learns about Golb, learns that ultimate chaos might have the power to undo the crown's magic, to transform Ice King back into Simon, to fix the unfixable by dissolving it into chaos and reforming it into something else. So she summons Golb to Ooh, brings chaos incarnate to the Candy Kingdom, and everything goes wrong in exactly the ways you'd expect and several ways you wouldn't. Golb arrives, massive, incomprehensible, a face that's also not a face, a presence that makes reality bend just by existing in it. And he starts dissolving things, not destroying, dissolving, turning structure into formlessness, order into chaos, meaning into nonsense. The finale of Adventure Time becomes a battle against ultimate chaos, not with swords, not with magic, not with power, but with harmony. With music, with the thing that creates order from chaos, with sound organised into patterns, with people coming together to create structure in the face of ultimate dissolution. And it works, sort of. Golb is pushed back, but not defeated. You don't defeat chaos. You just create enough order to make a space where chaos isn't currently active. And Betty makes a choice, a desperate, impossible choice. She becomes one with Golb, merges with chaos incarnate, becomes something new, something that's Betty and Golb and neither and both. She takes her love for Simon and her desperation to fix him, and her absolute refusal to accept defeat, and pours it into chaos itself. And chaos changes. Not fundamentally, not completely, but enough. Betty Golb is different from pure Golb, has direction, has purpose. Has something that looks almost like love twisted through infinite chaos. So what does this mean for the Lich? His master has changed. Golb was pure chaos. Betty Golb is chaos with human emotion mixed in, chaos with purpose, chaos that might want something other than pure dissolution. The hierarchy shifted, the cosmic order rearranged itself. And the Lich, servant of chaos, servant of ending, suddenly has a master who might have different priorities than pure destruction. Does this change the Lich? Does it change Sweet Pea? If extinction serves chaos, and chaos becomes chaos plus love, does extinction become extinction plus something else? The show ends before answering these questions definitively, but the implications are fascinating. Maybe the Lich's transformation into Sweet Pea wasn't just cosmic intervention. Maybe it was preparation. Maybe chaos knew it would change and needed its extinction agent to be transformed first. Maybe Sweet Pea is what happens when chaos gets complicated by human emotion and needs its servants to be capable of complexity too. Or maybe not. Maybe Betty Golb and the Lich have nothing to do with each other. Maybe the cosmic hierarchy is too vast for these connections to matter. Maybe extinction does its thing and chaos does its thing, and sometimes they overlap and sometimes they don't, and the universe is too big for everything to be a grand design. But Adventure Time loves its patterns, loves its connections, loves showing how everything in its cosmology relates to everything else. So probably the Lich and Golb and Betty Golb and Sweet Pea are all part of the same cosmic web, all connected, all reflecting different aspects of the same fundamental questions about order and chaos, creation and destruction, meaning and meaninglessness. The philosophical implications are staggering. Is the Lich evil, or is he just a force of nature? If he's serving a higher power, if he's just fulfilling his role in cosmic hierarchy, is he responsible for his actions? Can you be evil if you're doing exactly what you were created to do? Is a hurricane evil? Is entropy evil? Is the heat death of the universe evil? Or are they just natural processes that happen regardless of morality? The Lich would probably say he's not evil. He's just correct. He's fulfilling cosmic purpose. He's doing what needs to be done to maintain universal balance. Existence is chaos trying to create order. He's order trying to restore chaos. Or maybe he's chaos trying to create the ultimate order of nothing. The philosophy gets circular, complicated, the kind of thing that makes your brain hurt if you think about it too long. But from the perspective of everyone in OO, from Finn and Jake and Princess Bubblegum and everyone trying to live their lives, it doesn't matter if the Lich is a force of nature or an evil being. The result is the same. He wants them dead. He wants everything dead. He wants existence to end. Whether that's evil or just cosmic purpose, it's still a problem that needs addressing, and addressing it means understanding the full scope. The Lich isn't the final boss. He's middle management in Cosmic Destruction Incorporated. Golb is higher up the chain, and above Golb, who knows? Maybe there's something above chaos. Maybe there's an entire hierarchy of increasingly incomprehensible cosmic forces. Maybe it's chaos and order all the way up and down forever. Maybe the universe is more complex than anyone can understand, and the Lich is just one small part of an infinitely complicated system. Adventure Time's cosmology is wild when you map it out. You've got OO on Earth, you've got the Nightosphere, hell with bureaucracy, you've got the crystal dimension, lumpy space, the dead worlds where ghosts live, the cosmic ocean, the time room, Mars, other planets, other dimensions. The multiverse with infinite timelines, Prismo granting wishes, Cosmic Owl showing up in prophetic dreams, Death himself being a friendly guy in a suit, Magic Man's Mars civilization, the elementals representing fundamental forces, Orgalorg, the ancient cosmic evil, Hunson Abadir ruling the Nightosphere, APTWE, the ancient psychic tandem war elephant, the party god, and that's not even getting into all the small gods and cosmic beings and magical creatures. And above or beyond or woven through all of it is Golb, chaos touching everything, making sure nothing stays stable too long, making sure structure eventually dissolves, making sure the universe stays interesting by constantly unmaking anything that gets too organized. The Lich fits into this cosmology as Golb's extinction agent. His job is to unmake life specifically, to end consciousness, to dissolve the most complex forms of order, living beings, back into simpler chaos. Other beings probably handle other forms of dissolution. Maybe there's a being that unmakes galaxies, another that dissolves stars, another that turns planets into dust. The Lich just specializes in life, in consciousness. In the organized complexity of existence that thinks and feels and chooses. So the apocalypse has a boss, and his boss is Chaos incarnate who got merged with a human woman, and now maybe has feelings about things. Corporate structure is weird in the cosmos. There's probably paperwork, extinction reports filed in triplicate, performance reviews where Golb asks the Lich why he hasn't ended all life yet, and the Lich explains about Sweet Pea and cosmic transformation, and Golb just dissolves the report into abstract shapes because Chaos doesn't do bureaucracy. The humour helps, has to help, because otherwise the implications are too heavy. The Lich serves Chaos. Chaos merged with Betty. Betty loved Simon. Simon became Ice King. Ice King is friends with Finn. Finn protects Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea is the Lich. It's all connected. All flowing. All part of the same cosmic dance between order and chaos, creation and destruction, meaning and dissolution. And the terrifying part, the Lich is small potatoes compared to Golb. The thing that wants to end all life across all timelines forever is just a servant, just a tool, just one aspect of a much larger, much more incomprehensible force. The Lich is terrible. Extinction is horrifying, but chaos is bigger. Chaos touches everything. Chaos doesn't just want life gone. Chaos wants all structure gone, all pattern, all meaning, all stability, everything constantly dissolving and reforming in configurations that make no sense. The Lich at least has understandable goals. You can comprehend extinction even if you hate it. You can wrap your mind around the concept of everything ending. But chaos? Pure, fundamental, primordial chaos? That's harder. That's the thing that makes experienced cosmic beings nervous. That's the force that even reality benders respect. That's why Prismo is careful. Why Magic Man broke. Why Princess Bubblegum prepares for threats she knows she can't actually prepare for. Because chaos doesn't play by rules, doesn't follow patterns, doesn't have limits you can plan around. It just does what chaos does. Dissolves, changes, transforms, makes things that shouldn't be possible, unmakes things that seemed permanent, touches reality, and leaves it different in ways that hurt to think about. And somewhere in the aftermath of Betty Golb's transformation, somewhere in the cosmic restructuring that happened during the finale, the question sits unanswered. What happens to the Lich's purpose now? If his master has changed, if chaos has human emotions mixed in, if the cosmic order has shifted, does extinction's role change too? Is Sweet Pea not just a transformation but a preparation? Is the universe rearranging its pieces because the game has new rules? We don't know. The show ended before exploring these implications fully. But they're there, sitting in the cosmology, waiting to be unpacked. The Lich served Golb. Golb became Betty Golb. Betty loved Simon. Does that love trickle down the hierarchy? Does chaos with emotion need extinction with emotion? Does the transformation of one cosmic force necessitate the transformation of its servants? Maybe Sweet Pea is what happens when chaos learns to love. When destruction needs to be capable of understanding what it's destroying. When extinction has to have empathy, not because evil became good, but because the cosmic hierarchy shifted and roles had to adapt. Or maybe it's simpler. Maybe Sweet Pea happened because Billy's spirit and some cosmic beings decided to try something impossible. Maybe it has nothing to do with Golb. Maybe the Lich's transformation and Betty Golb's creation are separate events that happen to overlap temporally, but not causally. Maybe not everything is connected. Maybe sometimes things just happen. But this is Adventure Time. Everything connects. Every detail matters. Every throwaway line comes back. Every cosmic force relates to every other cosmic force. The comet's cycle, the elemental's balance. The Lich serves, Golb serves, whatever comes above chaos if anything does. It's all one big web of relationships and powers and forces and beings trying to make reality work their way. And in the middle of all this cosmic complexity, there's a boy and his dog having adventures. There's a candy kingdom ruled by a scientist princess. There's an ice king who just wants to not be lonely. There's elementals and vampires and wizards and talking rainicorns and BMO being BMO. Life happening, joy happening, love happening. Structure being built despite chaos constantly trying to unmake it. That's the real story. Not the Lich versus everyone, not chaos versus order, but life persisting. choosing to exist despite extinction, choosing to create structure despite chaos, choosing to love despite everything being temporary. The cosmic forces are there, they're real, they're powerful, but they're not the final word. The final word is the stubborn insistence of consciousness to exist and matter and create meaning even though the universe seems designed to prove that nothing matters. Golb is terrifying. The Lich is extinction. The cosmic hierarchy is vast and incomprehensible. But Finn and Jake keep having adventures. Tree Trunks keeps baking pies. Sweet Pea keeps choosing to be good. Betty chose love over sanity. Simon survived the crown's madness. Marceline lived 1,000 years and learned to love. Princess Bubblegum built a kingdom from candy. The Lich is terrible, but he's not even the final word on terrible. Above him is chaos, and above chaos, maybe more chaos. Maybe order, maybe something incomprehensible. But it doesn't matter because down here at ground level in Ooh, where life happens, people keep choosing to exist. Keep choosing to care, keep choosing to build and love and create despite everything. That's more powerful than extinction, more persistent than chaos, more fundamental than any cosmic force. The choice to exist, the choice to matter, the choice to love. That's what beats the Lich. Not force, not power, not even cosmic intervention. Just the stubborn, beautiful, impossible choice to keep going. And the universe, with all its chaos and extinction and cosmic hierarchies, has to accept that, has to work around it, has to acknowledge that consciousness, life, choice, these things have power too. They're not just disorder waiting to be unmade. They're forces in their own right, creating structure, making meaning, building something from nothing and defending it against the nothing that wants it back. The Lich serves Golb. Sweet Pea serves pancakes at breakfast. And somehow, impossibly, the pancakes matter more. Because they're chosen. Because they're made with love. Because they represent the decision to exist and care and create even when the universe says it's temporary. That's Adventure Time's thesis. In a universe of cosmic horror and extinction and chaos and forces that want to unmake everything, the thing that actually matters is a boy and his dog and their friends choosing to care, choosing to try, choosing to be good even when being good is hard, choosing to make pancakes and bake pies and tell jokes and have adventures and love each other, even though everything ends eventually. The cosmic scope is there. The terror is real. The Lich is genuinely threatening. Golb is genuinely incomprehensible. The hierarchy is genuinely vast. But at the end of the day, what matters is the choice. And every day across Ooh, people wake up and choose to exist, choose to matter, choose to care. And that's more mathematical than any amount of cosmic horror. Even when you've been transformed into a baby, even when you've been reborn as innocence, even when cosmic intervention has reshaped you into something new, parts remain, fragments persist. Because energy doesn't just disappear. It transforms, it relocates, it waits. And sometimes, in the wreckage of cosmic transformation, pieces get left behind. Pieces that remember what they used to be. Pieces that want to finish what they started. The hand. Not metaphorical, not symbolic, an actual hand. The Lich's hand. Severed during the Citadel explosion, left behind when the rest of him got transformed into Sweet Pea. And unlike the rest of the Lich, this hand never got the cosmic makeover, never got reborn, never got a chance at redemption. It's just a hand, a piece of extinction that remembers its purpose, that wants to continue existing, that knows what it's supposed to do even though the rest of it is currently learning basic arithmetic in Candy Person School. Princess Bubblegum contains it, obviously, because that's what you do with pieces of cosmic evil. You don't throw them in the trash, you don't bury them in the woods, you put them in a specialized containment unit in your lab where you can monitor them and study them and make sure they don't escape and resume ending all life. Science. Preparation. The understanding that transformation doesn't mean every piece transformed. Sometimes fragments remain. Sometimes the work isn't complete, and the hand tries to escape. Constantly. Because that's what Lich pieces do. They don't accept imprisonment. They don't resign themselves to containment. They probe. They test. They wait for weaknesses. They remember purpose with cellular certainty. This hand walked through the mushroom war causing extinction. This hand opened the Enchiridion. This hand reached for Prismo. It has history. It has memory encoded in dead flesh and bone. and it wants to finish its story, the containment holds. Mostly. Princess Bubblegum knows what she's doing, has protocols, has backups for the backups, has contingencies written by someone who understands that cosmic evil doesn't just give up because you put it in a jar. The hand scratches at the walls of its prison, tries to corrupt the containment material, attempts to spread Lich energy through microscopic cracks, gets creative about escape in ways that would be impressive if they weren't terrifying. But containment is temporary. Everything is temporary, especially in OO, where magic exists and reality is flexible, and someone is always accidentally or intentionally releasing things that should stay contained. The hand knows this, waits for it. Patient as extinction always is, because the thing about being a piece of something that predates time is that you have excellent long-term planning skills. 1,000 years in a jar is annoying but manageable. Eventually someone will make a mistake. Eventually something will compromise the containment. Eventually the hand will get its chance, and it does. Through circumstances too complicated to fully detail but involving ancient magic and unfortunate timing, and the kind of chaos that happens when you live in a post-apocalyptic candy kingdom with flexible reality rules. The hand escapes, not fully, not with freedom to go wherever it wants, but enough. Enough mobility, enough agency. Enough connection to Lich energy to start causing problems. And where does it go? What does a disembodied hand of extinction do when it escapes containment? It goes looking for the rest of itself. It goes looking for Sweet Pea. Because they're connected. Same essence, same cosmic energy. The hand recognizes Sweet Pea the way you'd recognize your own reflection. Except this reflection is living a completely different life, has a different personality, has chosen goodness over extinction. And the hand wants to fix that, wants to remind Sweet Pea what they really are, wants to merge back together and resume the original purpose. Sweet Pea feels it coming. Not consciously at first, just unease. Dreams getting worse, the voice getting louder, that ancient whisper that usually stays in the background suddenly front and centre, saying things about completion and purpose and how pieces belong together. Sweet Pea doesn't understand why, doesn't know about the hand's escape, just knows something is wrong, something is coming, something that feels like him but also feels like ending. The hand finds him, and the moment they're in proximity everything clicks. Sweet Pea sees the hand, recognizes it. Knows it's part of what he used to be, and the hand reaches for him. Not aggressively, almost gently, like it's trying to come home, like separated family members reuniting. Except one family member is trying to have a normal childhood, and the other family member is a disembodied piece of cosmic extinction that wants everyone dead. Finn is there. Because of course Finn is there. Finn has been watching Sweet Pea for years, protecting him, making sure the kid gets his chance at normal life. And when the hand shows up, when extinction comes crawling toward the child who used to be its full embodiment, Finn interposes himself, puts his body between Sweet Pea and the hand. Ready to fight, ready to destroy this piece of the Lich before it can corrupt Sweet Pea, before it can undo all the progress and transformation and cosmic redemption. But Sweet Pea stops him, says no, says he needs to do this himself, says that running from pieces of his past won't make them go away, says that if he's ever going to be fully Sweet Pea, fully his own person, he needs to confront what he was, needs to face the Lich, needs to have the conversation he's been avoiding through childhood and dreams, and the voice that whispers in his head. This is the moment. The hand is here, the past is here, and Sweet Pea needs to decide once and for all who he is. This leads to Whispers, the episode where Sweet Pea's internal struggle becomes external, where the metaphorical becomes literal, where the voice in his head gets a body, gets presence, gets the chance to argue its case. And that case is simple. You are the Lich. This innocent child act is just temporary confusion. You're going to remember eventually. You're going to become what you truly are. Why fight it? Why resist purpose? Why pretend to be something you're not when being what you are is so much more powerful? The dream sequence. Sweet Pea falls asleep, or maybe falls into himself, into the space where the Lich waits. And there he is, full Lich, not the hand, not fragments. The complete essence of extinction manifested in dream space where metaphysics are more flexible. Green fire, skeletal grin, that voice like tombstones, and he speaks to Sweet Pea with a patience that's almost kind, almost fatherly, almost loving in the way extinction might love its own continuation. The Lich explains, "You think you're separate, you think you're Sweet Pea." But that's just what consciousness does. It creates identity, creates the illusion of continuity. But you and I are the same essence, same cosmic energy. The only difference is perspective. You think you chose to be good, but choice requires there being multiple real options, and there's only one reality. You are extinction. Everything else is just delay. Sweet Pea argues, says he has memories, has experiences, has people who love him, has a life that matters, has made choices that weren't about ending, has proven through years of existence that he's not the Lich. That transformation is real. That cosmic rebirth created someone new. That identity is more than essence. That consciousness shapes matter, not the other way around. The Lich smiles. A terrible smile, not mocking, understanding. Because here's the thing about eternal forces. They've heard every argument. They've seen every rebellion. They know that consciousness always thinks it's special, always thinks it can transcend its nature. And sometimes consciousness is right. Sometimes transformation happens. But sometimes consciousness is just telling itself comforting stories while the universe proceeds according to its actual rules. Which one is Sweet Pea? The exception or the rule? The genuine transformation or the long delusion? And Sweet Pea doesn't have an answer. Not a certain one. Because how do you prove your own reality? How do you demonstrate that you're genuinely yourself, and not just the Lich having an extended identity crisis? The philosophical ground gets shaky. The certainty that sustained Sweet Pea through childhood starts cracking. Because the Lich makes sense. The arguments are coherent. The logic is sound. Maybe Sweet Pea is just the Lich dreaming he's a child. Maybe the voice is the real consciousness and Sweet Pea is the whisper. Maybe extinction is just very, very patient. But then something shifts. Sweet Pea stops arguing, stops trying to prove he's not the Lich, stops fighting the connection, and instead he does something unexpected. Something that maybe only someone who's spent years in therapy-adjacent situations with Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig and Finn would think to do. He accepts. Not accepts that he is the Lich, accepts that he contains the Lich, accepts that the essence is real and present and part of him, accepts the connection instead of denying it. This is the breakthrough, not rejection. Integration. Sweet Pea stops saying I'm not the Lich and starts saying I am also the Lich, and I choose to be Sweet Pea anyway. Stops treating it as either or and starts treating it as both and. Yes, he contains extinction. Yes, the ancient voice is real. Yes, the essence predates time. And also he likes pie. Also he has friends. Also he chooses kindness. Also he's Sweet Pea. Both things are true simultaneously. The Lich is part of his past and Sweet Pea is his present, and whoever he becomes is his future. All of it is real. All of it is him. The Lich in the dream doesn't know what to do with this, doesn't have a counter-argument prepared. Because acceptance wasn't the expected response. Rebellion was expected. Denial was expected. Eventually succumbing was expected. But integration, acknowledgement without surrender, that's new. That's not in the cosmic playbook. Extinction has never been part of something without being all of something. Has never been a component of identity rather than the whole identity. The Lich is suddenly arguing with someone who agrees with his premises but rejects his conclusion. And that's philosophically frustrating in ways extinction isn't equipped to handle. Sweet Pea wakes up, or emerges from the dream space, or returns to consciousness, or whatever you call it when you finish having a metaphysical argument with your own cosmic essence, and he's different, not transformed into the Lich, not corrupted, different in that he's more solid, more certain, more himself because he's stopped fighting being partially the Lich, has accepted the complexity of his own identity, has made peace with containing contradictions. The hand is still there, still reaching, still wanting to merge, and Sweet Pea takes it. Not violently, not with fear, just takes the hand, his hand, part of himself. And instead of the hand corrupting him, instead of Lich energy spreading and transforming Sweet Pea back into extinction, something else happens. The hand transforms, becomes part of Sweet Pea. Not Sweet Pea becoming Lich, but Lich pieces becoming Sweet Pea. The integration works both ways. The essence doesn't just pull Sweet Pea toward extinction, Sweet Pea pulls the essence toward life, and the hand becomes flesh, becomes part of a growing boy instead of a piece of ancient evil, becomes transformed by integration instead of transforming through corruption. This is the cosmic redemption completing itself, not through separation, not through the Lich being destroyed and Sweet Pea being separate, but through the Lich becoming part of Sweet Pea in a way that doesn't dominate, doesn't control, just exists as component rather than controller. Finn watches this happen, sees Sweet Pea take the hand and transform it instead of being transformed by it, sees the boy he's been protecting demonstrate that maybe he doesn't need protection anymore. Maybe Sweet Pea has grown strong enough, certain enough, integrated enough to handle his own pieces, to face his own past, to be trusted with his own destiny. And Finn realizes something important, that heroism sometimes means letting go, means trusting people to fight their own battles, means stepping back and believing in transformation even when you're scared it won't hold. This is Finn's arc completing too. He started by fighting the Lich, dedicated his heroism to destroying extinction, then shifted to protecting Sweet Pea, dedicated his heroism to defending transformation, and now he's learning to trust Sweet Pea, to let the boy make his own choices, to accept that some battles are internal and the best thing a hero can do is believe in people's ability to win them. Not fighting for Sweet Pea, just believing in him. That's a different kind of heroism. Quieter, harder in some ways, more about faith than action. Sweet Pea becomes his own person, fully. Not the Lich transformed, or the boy containing extinction. Just Sweet Pea. An individual who contains complexity, who has an unusual history, who carries weight that most people never experience, but who is fundamentally himself, makes his own choices, has his own identity, is responsible for his own actions rather than his essence's history. The transformation is complete not because the Lich is gone, but because Sweet Pea is fully present. Does the Lich truly die? That's the haunting question. The voice stops. The whispers end. Sweet Pea no longer feels the ancient pull toward extinction. But is that because the Lich is dead? Or because the Lich has been so thoroughly integrated into Sweet Pea's identity that it's no longer separate enough to have its own voice? Did extinction end? Or did it transform so completely that it stopped being extinction and became something else? Something that looks like a kid who wants to help people? Adventure Time's ending leaves it ambiguous, deliberately. Because maybe the answer matters less than the fact that Sweet Pea is living a good life. Maybe whether the Lich is dead or transformed or sleeping or integrated isn't as important as the fact that Sweet Pea chooses kindness every day. Maybe the metaphysics are less relevant than the lived reality. And the lived reality is that Sweet Pea is good, helps people, protects, becomes a hero in his own right. Not because he's fighting against his nature, but because his nature has become heroism. The philosophy here is profound. Sometimes you don't kill evil, you outlive it, outgrow it. Become so thoroughly yourself that what you used to be becomes irrelevant. Not erased, not forgotten, just no longer determinative. The Lich wanted to define Sweet Pea, wanted to be his identity, and Sweet Pea said, no, you're part of my history, and I acknowledge you, and I choose to be something else. And that choice, repeated daily, becomes reality, becomes identity, becomes truth more fundamental than ancient essence. The cycle can be broken. Even cosmic inevitability can be rewritten. The catalyst comets bring creation, change, destruction, rebirth. And sometimes rebirth means genuine transformation. Means the destruction phase learns from the creation phase. Means death studies life and decides living is interesting actually. Means extinction looks at existence and says, maybe I'll try this. Not forever. Not with certainty about the future. Just for now. Just as experiment. Just to see what happens when you choose differently than cosmic purpose dictates. The Lich's final form is a well-adjusted kid with good self-esteem and a strong support network. Take that, extinction. Your ultimate destiny is therapy and healthy coping mechanisms. Your final transformation is learning that existence is more interesting than non-existence. Your cosmic purpose dissolves into making sure your parents are proud of you and your friends feel supported. That's victory more complete than any amount of death and destruction. That's transformation that actually matters. There's hope in this ending. Radical hope. The kind that says nothing is beyond change. Nothing is too corrupt to transform. Nothing is so fundamentally evil that love and support and patient belief can't reshape it into something good. The Lich represents the most extreme test case possible. If extinction itself can become a kind child, what can't be transformed? What can't be redeemed? What can't be reshaped through care and choice and stubborn insistence on possibility? But it's not easy hope. Not cheap hope. Sweet Pea fought for years, struggled constantly, had support from people who refused to give up on him, had cosmic intervention on his side, had every advantage possible and still barely made it work. Transformation is possible but not guaranteed. Redemption is real but not automatic. Change requires work, constant work, daily choice, the support of community, belief from others, luck, timing, cosmic intervention, all of it together. Sweet Pea succeeded, but success wasn't inevitable, wasn't easy, wasn't something that happened just because it should. It happened because everyone involved chose to make it happen, daily, for years, against cosmic pressure and ancient purpose and the weight of what should have been. And even now, with the transformation complete, with Sweet Pea fully himself, with the voice silent and the hand integrated and the Lich apparently gone, there's still uncertainty. Still the question of permanence, still the awareness that cycles continue. That comet's return, that cosmic patterns reassert, that maybe in another 1,000 years another catalyst comet will fall, and the essence of destruction will manifest again, and maybe it'll remember this time, remember being Sweet Pea, remember choosing life, remember transformation, and maybe that memory will change what destruction means. Or maybe it won't. Maybe each cycle starts fresh. Maybe cosmic forces don't carry trauma or growth or learning. Maybe they just are, repeatedly, forever. Adventure Time doesn't answer, leaves it open, leaves Sweet Pea living his life, leaves the possibility that transformation holds, leaves hope and uncertainty coexisting. Because that's honest, that's real. That's what transformation actually feels like. You don't get certainty, you don't get guarantees, you just get today. And today, Sweet Pea chooses to be Sweet Pea. Tomorrow he'll choose again, and the day after. And as long as he keeps choosing, the transformation holds. As long as belief persists, redemption is real. As long as support continues, change lasts. The Lich wanted extinction. Sweet Pea wants breakfast. And somehow, impossibly, breakfast wins. Not forever, not with certainty. Just for now. Just for today. Just for this moment where a boy who used to be the apocalypse is eating pancakes with his parents and planning to hang out with his friends and thinking about homework and living a normal, beautiful, impossible life. That's the victory. Not the Lich being destroyed, but the Lich being so thoroughly transformed that extinction looks like childhood, that death looks like growth, that ending looks like beginning, that cosmic purpose dissolves into ordinary joy. And maybe that's the real magic of Adventure Time, taking the darkest possible thing and proving that even darkness can learn to love light, that even extinction can choose existence, that even the most fundamental force of ending can become a beginning, not through violence, not through superior power, but through love, through support. Through the stubborn belief that transformation is possible, through daily choice, through integration, through accepting complexity instead of demanding simplicity, through treating people as capable of change instead of prisoners of nature. The Lich is gone, or transformed, or sleeping, or integrated, or redeemed, or replaced, or all of the above and none of the above. The metaphysics get fuzzy, but Sweet Pea is here, real, solid, choosing, living, being, and that's more mathematical than any amount of cosmic certainty. That's the final word on extinction. Not that it can be defeated, that it can be loved into something else, that even the darkest force can become a child eating pie, that even cosmic horror can learn to laugh. The cycle broke, or transformed, or continued in a new way. The pattern shifted, and in that shift, hope emerged. Radical, impossible, beautiful hope. The kind that says maybe, just maybe, nothing is beyond redemption. Nothing is too far gone. Nothing is so fundamental that it can't change. Even extinction, even death itself, even the voice that predates time, Sweet Pea lives. The Lich is silent, and somewhere, in the complexity between those two facts, transformation completes itself. Not perfectly, not finally, just enough, just for now, just to prove that maybe, impossibly, even the end can become a beginning. And that's more than mathematical. That's miraculous. From a green comet falling millions of years ago to a child eating breakfast with his parents. From extinction incarnate walking through the mushroom war to Sweet Pea helping his friends with homework. From I wish for the extinction of all life to choosing kindness every single day. That's the journey. That's the arc. That's what happens when Adventure Time decides to tackle cosmic horror in a show ostensibly about a boy and his dog having adventures in a magical land. The Lich's story is everything Adventure Time does best distilled into one character, taking something impossibly dark and finding hope in it, taking cosmic scope and making it personal, taking philosophical weight and balancing it with genuine emotion and occasional absurdity. The Lich could have been just a scary villain, a big bad for Finn to fight, a threat to overcome and move on from. But Adventure Time doesn't do simple, doesn't do disposable. Every character matters. Every story connects, every thread weaves into the larger tapestry. So the Lich becomes something more, becomes a mirror, not just for Finn, though he's certainly that, but for everyone, for the show itself, for the audience, for the questions we ask about death and meaning, and whether anything we do matters when entropy is the final word. The Lich forces characters to confront what they believe about existence, about heroism, about redemption, about whether fighting is enough or if there's something deeper required. Look at what the Lich reveals about Finn, our hero, our protagonist, the last human, the boy who fights because fighting means caring. Finn starts the series thinking heroism is simple. You fight bad guys, you save princesses, you swing your sword and win through courage and determination. And then he meets the Lich, meets something that can't be defeated through courage, can't be overcome through determination, can't be fought in the traditional sense, because how do you fight extinction? How do you punch death? How do you sword fight entropy? Finn has to learn a different kind of heroism. The kind that protects instead of destroys. The kind that believes in transformation instead of victory. The kind that looks at Sweet Pea and sees possibility instead of threat. The kind that lets go of control and trusts people to fight their own battles. The Lich transforms Finn from a warrior into a guardian. From someone who defeats evil into someone who believes evil can become good. That's character growth on a fundamental level. That's the hero's journey not toward power, but toward wisdom. And Jake. Jake gets turned into the Lich briefly, experiences what extinction feels like from the inside, understands the pull, the purpose, the clarity of wanting everything to end, and he resists, holds on to himself, uses love and friendship and his absolute refusal to let evil win to maintain identity even while wearing death's face. Jake proves that consciousness matters, that who you are is stronger than what you become, that even cosmic corruption can be fought with sheer stubborn love for your best friend and a cosmic wish-granter who needs protecting. Princess Bubblegum has to confront the limits of science. She's the rational one, the scientist, the person who understands through study and experimentation. But how do you study extinction? How do you experiment on something that predates empiricism? The Lich exists beyond her usual tools, forces her to accept that some things can't be understood through analysis. Some threats require faith. Some solutions come from cosmic intervention rather than laboratory work. She adapts, learns to work with magic and metaphysics, learns that protecting her kingdom means accepting uncertainty, means containing a hand of cosmic evil and knowing the containment might fail. Means trusting in transformation she can't prove scientifically. Even Billy. Dead Billy. Corrupted Billy. Billy's corpse used as a puppet by the thing he supposedly defeated. Billy's story is tragic but instructive. He was the greatest hero, did everything right, won battles, saved people, became a legend, and still got killed by the Lich and worn like a costume. Because heroism isn't immunity. Goodness isn't protection. You can do everything right and still lose. But Billy's spirit returns, gets the last word, helps arrange Sweet Pea's transformation, proves that heroism doesn't end with death, that even when evil corrupts your body, your essence remains. Your choices matter, your legacy persists. The Lich teaches us about death, not metaphorically, literally. He's death given form and voice and purpose. He's what happens when the natural process of things ending becomes active, when decay decides to have opinions, when entropy gets impatient. And Adventure Time, a show marketed to children, decided to make death a character, to let extinction speak, to give the end of all things a philosophy and let it argue its case. That's bold, that's risky. That's treating kids like they can handle complex ideas about mortality and meaning, and the show respects its audience enough to not soften the horror. The Lich is genuinely terrifying. His design is nightmare fuel. His voice is unsettling. His philosophy is sound enough to be disturbing. He's not a monster you laugh at. He's a force you fear. And kids get to experience that fear, get to confront death through fantasy, get to process the idea that everything ends through a character who wants to speed up the process. But the show also provides hope. Not cheap hope. Not, don't worry, everything will be fine, platitudes. Real hope. The kind that acknowledges darkness and finds light anyway. The kind that says yes, extinction is real, and yes, death is inevitable, and yes, entropy will eventually win, but also, life persists, love matters, choices count, and even death itself can be transformed if you try hard enough and get lucky and have a community that believes in possibility. The philosophy of extinction that the Lich represents is genuinely interesting, not evil in the cartoon villain sense, but challenging in the philosophical sense. Everything does end. Heat death of the universe is real. Entropy is a law. The Lich isn't lying about how physics works. He's just impatient about it. He sees the inevitable conclusion and wants to skip to the end. Sees existence as prolonged suffering and wants to offer mercy through ending. Sees structure as temporary disorder and wants to restore permanent order through nothing. You can argue with that. Obviously you should. Obviously life matters and existence is valuable, and meaning is real, even if temporary. But the Lich's worldview is coherent, internally consistent, based on actual facts about how the universe works. He's not wrong that everything ends. He's just wrong about whether that means we should end things now. And that's a more interesting villain than someone who's just evil for evil's sake. That's a villain who makes you think, who makes you articulate why existence matters, who forces you to defend life on philosophical grounds rather than just emotional ones. And then the show asks, can this be redeemed? Can extinction itself be transformed? Can the most fundamental force of ending learn to value beginnings? The answer, Adventure Time gives, is yes, but not easily, not quickly, not without cost and effort and cosmic intervention, and years of daily choice. Sweet Pea's existence is the show's thesis statement. Nothing is beyond transformation. Nothing is too evil to become good. Nothing is so fundamental that it can't change. But transformation requires work, requires support, requires belief, requires luck and timing and cosmic intervention, and stubborn refusal to accept that nature is destiny. Compare the Lich to other Adventure Time villains. Ice King is tragic. He was Simon. He was kind and loving and sacrificed his sanity to save Marceline. His villainy is just loneliness and madness wearing a crown. You can't hate Ice King, you pity him. You want him saved. And eventually he is. Simon returns. Gets his happy ending with Betty Golb in whatever form that takes. Ice King's arc is about trauma and loss and the possibility of recovery. About holding on to yourself even when magic tries to erase who you are. Lemongrab is dysfunctional, created imperfect, trying to impose order because he doesn't understand social dynamics. He's not evil, he's damaged. He's Princess Bubblegum's mistake trying to make sense of a world that doesn't make sense to him. His arc is about acceptance, about learning that perfection isn't possible and that's okay. About finding your place in a world that wasn't designed for you. The Vampire King wanted power, wanted dominance, wanted control, traditional villain stuff, and Marceline defeats him by taking his power, by becoming the Vampire Queen, by proving that power can be claimed and redirected. His arc is about confronting past trauma, about Marceline facing what made her and choosing to be different. But the Lich is different. He's not misunderstood, not tragic in the Ice King sense, not dysfunctional like Lemongrab, not power-hungry like the Vampire King. He's purpose incarnate. He's a cosmic force trying to fulfill its function. He's extinction doing exactly what extinction is supposed to do. That makes him scarier, but also makes his transformation more meaningful. If even cosmic purpose can be redirected, if even fundamental forces can choose differently, if even extinction can become creation, then nothing is hopeless. Nothing is beyond saving. Nothing is too far gone. The meta-narrative here is fascinating. Adventure Time starts as a fun adventure show, boy and dog having fun in a magical land. And slowly, episode by episode, it reveals depth, reveals darkness. Reveals that the magical land is a post-apocalyptic wasteland, that the fun adventures happen on the corpse of civilization, that the whimsy exists because of tragedy, and at the heart of that tragedy is the Lich, the thing that ensured the Mushroom War ended everything, the force that prevented recovery, the entity that wanted to make sure humanity's self-destruction was thorough. So Adventure Time becomes a show about finding joy despite horror, about building meaning on top of meaninglessness, about creating families and communities and love in a world that was supposed to end, about life's stubborn refusal to accept extinction even when extinction has very good arguments. The Lich makes everything else in the show matter more. Because if the world was supposed to end and didn't, if life was supposed to cease and persisted, if existence was supposed to be erased and continued anyway, then every moment of joy is a victory. Every act of kindness is rebellion. Every friendship is proof that the Lich was wrong. And this resonates with audiences who grew up, who watched Adventure Time as kids and are now adults facing their own mortality, their own meaninglessness, their own confrontations with entropy. The Lich speaks to that existential dread, that awareness that everything ends, that nothing you build lasts forever, that heat death is inevitable, and Sweet Pea speaks to the hope that maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe temporary is enough. Maybe meaning exists in the doing rather than the lasting. Maybe existence justified itself every moment, even if it ends eventually. The cycle's theme runs through everything. Catalyst comets return every 1,000 years. Creation, change, destruction, rebirth. The pattern holds, and maybe that's okay. Maybe destruction is necessary for rebirth. Maybe ending is required for beginning. Maybe death feeds life. Maybe the Lich, even as extinction, serves a purpose, clears space for new things, ensures stagnation doesn't persist forever. Makes room for transformation by ending what was. But the cycle also can be interrupted, can be transformed, can be rewritten. Sweet Pea proves that destruction doesn't have to lead to rebirth. Sometimes destruction becomes rebirth. Sometimes the ending phase skips straight to beginning. Sometimes the cycle acknowledges that sentience and choice and consciousness matter enough to change the rules. The comets will keep coming. The pattern will continue. But maybe each iteration is different. Maybe the Lich remembers being Sweet Pea in the next cycle. Maybe extinction learned something from experiencing existence. Maybe next time is different. Personal reflection time. Why does the Lich resonate? Why does this character in a cartoon about a boy and his dog having adventures become genuinely meaningful to adults wrestling with mortality? Because he's honest. He's the fear we don't talk about. The awareness that everything ends, that nothing lasts, that all our efforts and loves and creations will eventually decay into nothing. That the universe is indifferent. That entropy always wins. That death is the only guarantee. We live with that knowledge, have to live with it, can't escape it. And mostly we cope by not thinking about it, by focusing on the temporary, by finding meaning in moments, by loving people even though we'll lose them, by creating things even though they'll decay, by existing despite the knowledge that existence is temporary. We're all doing what Sweet Pea does, choosing life despite death, choosing meaning despite meaninglessness, choosing to exist despite entropy. The Lich makes that struggle external, makes it a character you can see and fight and fear, makes the existential dread into a skeleton with green fire and a voice like grinding tombstones, and then shows that even that can be transformed. even that can become something beautiful. Even death itself can learn to love life. That's powerful. That's cathartic. That's what art does when it works. Takes the fear that lives in your head and shows you it can be faced and maybe, impossibly, overcome. Adventure Time taught us that nothing is beyond transformation, that even death can change, that even extinction can become creation, that the darkest forces can become the brightest lights, that cosmic purpose can be overridden by conscious choice, that nature isn't destiny, that essence doesn't determine existence, that what you were doesn't define what you are, that every day is a choice, that support matters, that community can achieve impossible things, that love is stronger than entropy, that existence justifies itself, that life wins not through superior force but through stubborn persistence. The Lich wanted to end everything. Sweet Pea wants to help everyone. And in that transformation, in that impossible shift from extinction to kindness, Adventure Time delivers its thesis. Change is always possible. Redemption is always available. Hope is always justified, not because the universe is fair or kind or designed to reward goodness, but because consciousness has power, because choice matters, because every day you can decide who you are regardless of what you were, because cosmic forces are real but so is love, and love persists, creates structure, builds meaning, transforms even the darkest things into light. So what did the Lich teach us? That death is real, that endings are inevitable, that extinction is part of the cosmic order, but also that death can be transformed, that endings can become beginnings, that even extinction can choose differently, that nothing is permanent, including evil, that transformation requires work but is always possible, that support and belief in community can achieve the impossible, that who you are matters more than what you're made of, that consciousness is magic, that choice is power, that love wins not by defeating death but by making life worth living despite death. The real adventure of Adventure Time isn't the quests or the fights or the magical discoveries. It's the journey from fear to hope, from seeing darkness and despairing to seeing darkness and choosing light anyway, from believing some things are irredeemable to proving that even extinction can become a child who loves his parents and his friends and existing. That's the adventure that matters. That's the story worth telling. Before there was time, before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters. The Lich's words, his philosophy, his truth. But Adventure Time adds a corollary. After nothing, there can be something. After monsters, there can be friends. After extinction, there can be rebirth. After the Lich, there can be Sweet Pea. The cycle continues, but it transforms. And in that transformation is everything that matters. What's your take on all this? Did the Lich really die, or is he just sleeping inside Sweet Pea, waiting for another catalyst comet? Is Sweet Pea genuinely a new person, or is he the Lich having an extended identity crisis? Does it matter? Can transformation be real if the essence remains the same? Is choosing to be good enough to make you good, or do your components define you regardless of choice? These questions don't have easy answers. That's what makes them good questions. That's what makes the Lich's story resonate. It asks things worth asking, presents problems worth solving, shows struggles worth having, and ultimately suggests that maybe the answer matters less than the asking. Maybe Sweet Pea's reality is determined by his daily choice more than his cosmic origin. Maybe being good is just choosing to be good over and over until the choosing becomes who you are. Maybe that's all any of us can do. Choose. Daily. Constantly. Against nature and circumstance and entropy and the voice that whispers that nothing matters. Choose anyway. Choose meaning. Choose love. Choose existence. Adventure Time showed us cosmic horror and then showed us hope stronger than horror. Showed us extinction and then showed us transformation. Showed us death and then showed us that even death can learn to value life. That's more than a kid's show. That's philosophy. That's therapy. That's art functioning at the highest level. Taking the darkest possible concept and finding light in it. Taking the most hopeless situation and proving hope exists anyway. Taking extinction incarnate and turning him into a child who helps his friends. And remember, before there was nothing, there were monsters. But before monsters, there was the potential for friends who transformed them. Before extinction, there was the possibility of creation. Before ending, there was the promise of beginning. Before the Lich, there was the potential for sweet pea. And after everything, after all the cosmic horror and philosophical weight and existential dread, there's a simple truth. Existence matters. Life persists. Love wins. Not because the universe is kind, but because consciousness chooses kindness. Not because death isn't real, but because life is real too, and stubborn, and beautiful, and worth defending. Not because we'll last forever, but because we're here now, and now is enough. The Lich stands as testament to the worst of cosmic reality. Sweet pea stands as testament to the best of conscious choice. And somewhere between those two truths we find Adventure Time's final message. Change is possible. Hope is justified. Nothing is beyond redemption. Even extinction. Even death itself. Even the voice that predates time. Because before there was nothing, there was potential. And after monsters, there are friends. And in the space between cosmic horror and radical hope, there's a boy eating pie with his parents and planning to help his community, and choosing every single day to be good despite being built from extinction. That's not just mathematical. That's the most mathematical thing of all. That's what it means to be algebraic. That's adventure at its truest. Not fighting external threats but internal ones. Not defeating evil but transforming it. Not ending darkness but choosing light anyway. The Lich's legacy is sweet pea. Extinction's gift to existence is a child who loves life. Death's contribution to the world is someone who chooses kindness. And that transformation, impossible and beautiful and real, is everything Adventure Time wanted to say about mortality and meaning and the stubborn persistence of hope. The cycle broke. The pattern shifted. The Lich became sweet pea. And in that becoming, everything changed. Not just for one character, for the entire philosophy of the show, for the understanding of what's possible, for the belief that transformation is always available if you're willing to work for it. So here's to the Lich, the scariest villain in children's television. The walking embodiment of cosmic horror, extinction incarnate, death wearing skin, and also, impossibly, a child who likes pie and helps his friends and proves every single day that even the darkest forces can become light, mathematical, algebraic, rhombus. Whatever word works to express something impossibly good, emerging from something fundamentally terrible. That's Adventure Time. That's the Lich's law. That's what happens when a show about fun adventures decides to tackle extinction itself and comes out the other side with hope. And that's the real magic. Not the wizards or the elementals or the cosmic forces, but the magic of consciousness choosing to exist. Choosing to matter. Choosing to transform even the most fundamental darkness into light. Choosing every day to be sweet pea instead of the Lich. That's the adventure. That's the journey. That's what the Lich taught us. Everything ends, but endings can be beginnings. Nothing lasts forever, but temporary is enough. Death is real, but so is life, and life. Stubborn and beautiful and absolutely refusing to accept extinction as the final word, keeps going, keeps choosing, keeps loving, keeps existing. That's more powerful than any amount of cosmic force. That's what beats extinction. Not superior firepower, just superior stubbornness. Just the absolute refusal to let death have the last laugh. Just consciousness saying no, I choose to exist anyway. I choose to matter anyway. I choose to love anyway, despite everything. The Lich learned that lesson, became that lesson, transformed into the living proof that even extinction can choose existence. And in that transformation, in that impossible redemption, Adventure Time delivered the most hopeful message possible. Nothing is beyond change. Nothing is too far gone. Nothing is so fundamentally evil that it can't become good. Not easily, not quickly, not without cost, but possible, always possible, as long as someone believes, as long as support exists. As long as choice remains available, as long as love persists. The Lich's law is complete. From comet to catastrophe to containment to transformation, from extinction to sweet pea, from death to life, from ending to beginning, from cosmic horror to radical hope, from the thing that predates time to a child who exists in time and chooses every moment to make that time matter. And that choice, repeated daily, becomes destiny, becomes identity, becomes truth. Sweet pea is real, the transformation holds, the redemption stands. And somewhere in the cosmic order, extinction learned that existence is interesting actually, that life has value, that consciousness matters, that choosing goodness is powerful enough to override cosmic purpose. The Lich is silent, sweet pea is alive, and the universe, vast and indifferent and designed to prove nothing matters, has to acknowledge that sometimes, impossibly, love matters more than entropy. Choice matters more than nature. Consciousness matters more than essence. And transformation is real. Mathematical.